All right. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the County of Los Angeles Citizen Redistricting Commission public hearing number 4 on draft map options. Today is December 8th, 2021, and the time is 6:34 p.m. We will now call the public meeting to order. For this hearing, we have available interpretation services. For those who are joining via Zoom, please select your preferred language by clicking on the interpretation button at the bottom of your screen, which is a globe icon. Select English or Spanish. You then can choose to mute your original audio for clearer interpretation. If you do not choose a language, you will not hear the interpretation. As a reminder to the public, this public hearing is being recorded and live streamed to youtube.com/LA County Redistricting. The link to the recording will also be posted and accessible through the Los Angeles County Redistricting website. If at any time any members of the public have any technical difficulties, please let us know in the Q&A and we can work towards fixing the issue. I will now take the roll. As a reminder.
Excuse me, Ty,
yes.
you said it was December 8th. It's actually December 7th.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Kenny. Today is December 7th, so apologies for that. I will now take the roll, and as a reminder, Commissioner names will be called in a rotating alphabetical order by last name. And Commissioners, please be prepared to unmute your mic and respond when your name is called. Commissioner Dorina Wong.
Present.
Commissioner Jean Franklin.
Present.
Commissioner David Holtzman.
Present.
Commissioner Mary Kenny.
Here.
Co-Chair Daniel Maeda.
Present.
Commissioner Mark Mendoza.
Present.
Commissioner Apolonio Morales.
Present.
Commissioner Nelson Obregon.
Present.
Commissioner Priscilla Orpanella Segura is excused. Commissioner Jaila Soto.
Present.
Commissioner Saida Soto.
Present.
Commissioner Brian Stetcher.
Present.
Commissioner John Vento.
Present.
And Co-Chair Carolyn Williams.
Present.
Okay. A few notes regarding public comments before I hand it over to Co-Chair Williams. The Commission is dedicated to receiving all public comment on draft map options, either orally or written. The Commission will receive oral public comments from anyone who calls in or submits a request to speak by 8 p.m. via the Q&A function. If you are interested in making a live public comment, you may submit in the Q&A your name, your affiliated organizations, if any, and that you would like to make a public comment. When you are called to make your public comment, you will be prompted to unmute your mic so you can speak. If you are participating via phone, press *9 to raise your hand. And once called upon, press *6 to unmute and speak. Each person will have one opportunity to speak for 1 minute. However, the time is doubled if interpretation services is needed. When you begin making your comment, please share your name and any affiliation you may have. Again, the Q&A is for members of the public to sign up to make a live public comment. If you have additional comments you would like to make, including public comments for specific draft maps, they can be submitted to the public comment form. And you can find the link in the chat or on the CRC website. And submitting to the public comment form ensures that your written comments are accurately recorded. And this is an important note here. Filling out the public comment form does not mean you signed up to make an oral comment at today's meeting. It does not mean, so again, the only way to sign up to make an oral comment at today's meeting is by submitting your name, affiliated organization, and that you would like to make a public comment to the Q&A, or if you're calling in, press *9 to raise your hand. So again, the Commission is dedicated to receiving all public comments on draft map options, either orally or written, and the Commission will receive oral public comment from anyone who submits a request to speak by 8 p.m. via the Q&A function. And if you are not able to present your public comment orally, we encourage you to submit written public comments through the public comment form. And the link will be in the chat and also on the CRC website. And I'll quickly walk folks through how to fill out the public comment form. Okay, so through the CRC website on the homepage, you can click on the Submit Comments for Meetings and Hearings. This will open up another tab on your browser. From there, you will need to fill in your first name and your last name where the red asterisks are. So here, let's go ahead and just put in test ones. And then here you can also upload any PDFs or any other documents you would like. check on the agenda item you would like to make a public comment on, and you have to do that. And then you would also have to click on a specific position, in favor, oppose, or other. From there, you can enter in your comments, which is optional. Once you enter in all those required fields, go ahead and go to the bottom and then type in the security code. And once you type in the security code, it will take you to a verification page. And once you verify what you submitted is correct, click on acknowledge. And once you click acknowledge, that will go straight into our database and then will be uploaded to the public comment forms after tonight's public hearing. Okay, so again, as a reminder to those who are making public comments this evening, all oral public comments will be through audio only. There will be no sharing video option. We do have interpretation services today for tonight's hearing. So if you can, please speak a little bit slower for our interpreters. And now I will turn the agenda over to Co-Chair Williams.
Thank you, Ty. The agenda is approved, and I just want to note that it was amended, and tonight we'll be in this hearing, we'll be looking at map options B3, F2, and FG, but the agenda is approved as noted and amended.
I have a
Commissioner Holzman has his
comment
hand raised.
about the agenda. On the fourth page of the agenda, at the bottom, it says, here is a visualization of the current map options that are under consideration. For truthfulness and for another reason, I think that the doesn't belong there. And I'm just going to quickly paste in my comments about why into the chat for everyone to see. So here it is. Anyway, that's for future consideration. And I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Agenda is approved.
So we are at the point where we are going to hear from the public about your views on the various map options. I think there is a brief overview and staff presentation before we actually get to that. I will mention that as I mentioned at the previous public hearing, we will start with the folks who are raising their hands and calling in by phone. But we decided that rather than just stick with the phone all the way through and then switch to the Q&A, I think some folks would probably, who were in the Q&A would probably then call in and we didn't want to have that happen. So we're going to go with 15 minutes at the outset with the phone and then switch over to the Q&A folks for 15 minutes and go back and forth that way until we're done. And again, you have to have signed up on the Q&A or have indicated your hand raised on the telephone in order to, by 8 o'clock, in order to be heard tonight orally, although you can always submit your written public comments. But I believe we are going now to a short presentation to lay the groundwork before we begin.
And also, Co-Chair Maeda, just in terms of fairness, we will be rounding up the 15 minutes. So if we're at the 14.5-minute mark, we're going to go ahead and do the next person. So maybe a little bit longer than 15 minutes, but we will be rounding up. So just a couple of points. We went over this at our meeting on Sunday, but I know we have some new members of the public. In terms of the work on the commissioner's modifications to the maps to date, they have, unless there's extenuating circumstances, they've done everything to keep cities whole. The one exception, obviously, is Los Angeles City, given its population. They have also worked to keep unincorporated areas whole, and they're very much aware of the need to keep neighborhood councils within LA City whole. We've received comments from specific ones that want to be sure that they are adjusted, and that will be some of the fine tuning as we go forward when you narrow down your map options. The challenges this commission faces is that to date, they have received some conflicting viewpoints from the public around what to do with some specific communities. So tonight's meeting will be very important to hear from you all. The other challenge is each district needs to be around 2 million people. So that means very diverse communities sometimes being brought together in order to achieve that outcome. There is a requirement to be geographically contiguous. The AAPI community has asked to not be in more than 2 supervisor districts, and I know that's something else the commissioners are looking at. There's a ripple effect that has affected any map modification, and the modifications the commission's been making to date is really in response to the public input received both in writing, oral testimony at the last public hearings, and really trying to think through how to integrate it together. What frequently happens is you make one adjustment in one supervisor district, and there's what we call a ripple effect that then may require an adjustment in another one. The other challenge, and this is very important for Los Angeles City residents, is Los Angeles City is not clear on how it defines its community boundaries. The neighborhood councils do not cover the entire city. The areas of Pacific Palisades, for example, relies on their homeowners association. Community planning areas differ for the Department of City Planning. And then again, they're the boundaries that the Public Works uses. The last note for the public is these maps are dynamic. And we're going to be focusing on some modifications that have been made to the maps in response to public input. And we want to thank the public for their patience as these maps have been evolving over time in the various iterations, building on the base maps that were originally put forth for consideration. So 3 quick points for the public when making your public comments to us. It's really helpful if you can focus on the current maps. We have been getting testimony even when people are talking about a map D that is not even under consideration at this point anymore. It's really important if you can be very specific about suggested improvements. Not just saying, I like this map or dislike this map, but really help the commissioners to understand what you'd like about it or what improvements you'd like. And then finally, we've been hearing a lot of similar comments from members of the public. Try to bring a fresh perspective versus just reiterating what you've talked about in the past. What you've talked about in the past are captured in the notes, hopefully are captured in terms of the modifications made. And if they're not, we do need to hear from you. But again, try to look at them from a fresh perspective. So these are the modifications. We are still working with a series of maps from the original map option B. It's had some modifications, and so you'll see it on the screen as B3. Same for map option F. It is now F2, again with some modifications based on public input. And then we have option G1 when we go forward. And the only other thing I want to wrap it up with is just sort of sharing the scorecard that ArcBridge puts together. You're going to see in terms of all the maps qualify in terms of the standard deviation, the plus or minus total of 10%. In terms of compactness, F2 is a little bit weaker. It's not as compact as the other maps. But F2 does produce, based on total population, 3 majority minority districts. All of them have at least 2 majority minority districts, both based on total population and CVAP. You'll see under the cities and these county statistical areas, there are 3 that indicate they're still split. We have checked those out. They're natural splits. An example would be, I believe Whittier Narrows is owned by the city of Whittier, but it's not connected in terms of the geography, but the other ones have been addressed. This last column will be of interest to the people from neighborhood councils in the city of Los Angeles. There are between 17 and 22 neighborhood councils that are along the border that are currently split that may require further refinement as we go forward with the final maps. And in all 3 cases, based on the community of input that we received from June through October, all of these maps do well in terms of matching what the communities of interest have reflected to date. And with that, we can open it up for public comment.
And before we get there, I just want to make a comment for the commission. Unless you have a question for the commenter that is really, can you repeat that? I didn't catch what you said or something along those lines, that kind of direct clarification, please do not engage the commenters in conversation. We have many, many people to go through tonight. I want to make sure we give as much opportunity as we can to the public. Ty, why don't we go ahead and start with the folks who've raised their hand in the telephone.
All right, sounds good. And then Gayla, you'll be notifying me once we need to switch over to those who enter into the Q&A, correct?
I'm starting the timer for 15 minutes when you call the first person.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, so our first caller is phone number ending in 3761, followed by phone number ending in 4932. And so for caller ending in 3761, you'll be able to unmute yourself momentarily. And once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute.
Hello?
Yes.
Awesome. Hi, good evening. My name is Miguel Dominguez, and I was born and raised in South LA and recently moved to Compton. I also work in the South LA community at Community Coalition, where we work with residents every day. I'm calling in support of MAP F2 with modifications found in MAP 8.1. This map ensures that the voices of Black and Brown folks in our community are valued in a real way that allows us to make decisions that are important for us, that are really grounded in the lived experiences that we have every day. It also ensures that we value the voices and power of Black residents in a county who face the very real reality of Black erasure. I ask that you all oppose MAP E3 and MAP G1 as these maps dilute the voices of historic communities of interest. Our communities are completely different, and it makes no sense to lumber communities like those in South Central and Compton together with those that on the coast who live vastly different lives. Over the last year, we've seen this through COVID as families in our communities face real crisis on every front, including increasing educational gaps, housing insecurity, and overall struggling to meet basic needs. For example, the students that we work with struggled in getting access to computers, had to take on caretaker roles, found themselves taking on jobs to make ends meet and put on food on the table.
Thank you. Time is up. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 4932, then caller with phone number ending in 5981. So caller with number ending in 4932, you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you have 1 minute. Okay, and just as a reminder for members who are calling in, to unmute yourself, press *6.
Sorry. My name is Diantha Smith, and I would like to urge the Commission to adopt MAP F2 with the base MAP 81. If adopting MAP F2 would protect our historical communities in South LA, which are predominantly Black and Brown communities, we need to stay whole as a district to share with the shared interests, which would allow us to have elected candidates and represent our choices and interests. We need a stronger political voice that would help to bring equity to our communities. And so I would just I think it's important for us to have political representation that understands our histories, our cultures, and values. So I would like to request the Commission to adopt MAP F2. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 5981, then phone number ending in 0585. So caller ending in 5981, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Doris Carna, and I am a resident Supervisorial District 1 in East Los Angeles. I am an LUSD High School student currently attending Esteban y Torres High School. MAP F2 is the best map we currently have. I ask you to consider looking at MAP 81, which makes modifications to MAP F, in order to take into account communities of interest and who have been historically at a disadvantage. I also want to express my disapproval on MAP B3 and G1. This map doesn't take into consideration the historical work of communities who worked hard to protect the Black vote and representation in District 2. It is important to protect Black voices, for they have been historically silenced and oppressed for so long. Additionally, it taxed Black community of South LA and Latinx community of Southeast LA into one district, and it prevents either community from having proper representation at the county level. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 0585, then caller. I believe interpreter is on the wrong channel. So next we have phone number ending in 0585, then phone number ending in 4189. So caller with 0585, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Carla Torres Montero, and I work with a grassroots community-based organization in the East Side. I want to communicate my opposition to maps B3 and G1. These maps do not consider all of our work our communities have done historically to protect the Black vote and District 2. Map F2 is the best map, but it does need modifications to do a better job at honoring Black and Latinx working class families and youth. I urge you to consider looking at Map 81, which modifies Map F and factors in our Black and Latinx communities who have been and continue to be disenfranchised. While phone banking, I heard many conversations with community members who are primarily Latinx and working class, and I heard the immense need for programs and services that help our vulnerable communities with food and housing assistance. Our community needs these resources that come from social services and providers that have a wide history of working with or being funded by motions led or supported by SD1. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 4189 and caller ending in 8589. So caller 4189, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Stephanie Garcia, and I'm a resident of Supervisorial District 1. I would like to share that map F2 is currently the best map proposed. It is important that we move forward with maps that maintain communities of interest together. Supervisorial District 1 has historically been a predominantly Latinx low-income community, and it's connected by its resource networks and immigrant roots. I am here asking to keep our social networks together. I also want to uplift my opposition to map B3 and G1. These maps don't take into account the historical work of protecting the Black vote and representation in District 2. Map B3 and G1 risk South LA being unable to elect a candidate that best represents them to ensure that Black voices are also heard. I'm here to advocate for map F2. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have caller ending with phone number ending in 8589, then caller with phone number ending in 1600. Caller 8589, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Christian Cardenas, and I live in Lincoln Heights in Supervisual District 1. I believe F2 is the best base map right now. Changes like removing West Hollywood and Hollywood from SD1 and connecting them with similar communities in SD3 would make it even stronger. I ask that you consider looking at map 81, which makes these modifications to map F, and it takes into consideration communities of interest who have been historically disenfranchised. Map 81 does not dilute Black and Brown electoral power while keeping communities of interest whole. I strongly oppose maps B3 and G1 as they pack the Black community in South LA and the Latinx community in Southeast LA into one district, which reduces their ability to have more representation at the county level. So to close, I want to restate my support for base map F2, primarily map 81. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 1600, then caller ending in 0305. So caller ending 1600, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Good evening. My name is Kyle Miller. I live in District 4. I want to thank the commissioners for volunteering to take on this very important task of redistricting. I'm here tonight to strongly advocate for map B3. It keeps La Habra Heights, who I'm a resident of and a former mayor of, along with Whittier and the other gateway cities. And the reason why that's important is the gateway cities have worked as a coalition to benefit the region for many, many, many years and have they truly are a community of interest, and keeping them together is vitally important. So B3 does that the best, and I think any other map is a step backwards in terms of breaking up that gateway city coalition. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 0305, and then caller with phone number ending in 3773. So caller 0305, you have 1 minute once you begin speaking.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Angélica Mejía y he sido residente del sur centro de California por más de 25 años. También soy miembro de Community Coalition y esta noche hablo en oposición del mapa G. Este mapa pone en peligro a comunidades minorías, aunque sean las comunidades con la mayor población en nuestro condado. No es justo que nos quieran mezclar con comunidades en el oeste como Hermosa Beach y Redondo Beach por el simple hecho de que son áreas más afluentes y con prioridades políticas distintas a la nuestra. También hablo para dar mi máximo apoyo al mapa F2 porque protege el voto político de la comunidad latina en el este de Los Ángeles, protege a la comunidad asiática y a la comunidad afroamericana en el Distrito 2. Históricamente, nuestras comunidades son las que siempre están comprometidas para darle lugar a comunidades con más recursos, así como ustedes quieren darle prioridad a Santa Mónica. Les urjo que esta vez nos escuchen y protejan el poder político del sur de Los Ángeles a través del mapa F2. Por favor, gracias. Buenas noches.
Okay, I see a hand from Commissioner Stetcher, or no longer a hand. Okay, thank you. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 7672, then caller ending in 9344. Caller 7672, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi, my name is Henry Fung, and I just want to say that the maps that I would recommend, I think F in order would be the F series, G series, and B series. And I just want to note kind of the thing that redistricting, it really should try to elevate voices that are underserved and underrepresented. And we know that people in the beach communities, for example, are very privileged. And we know that people in Cheviot Hills are privileged. And that's why map F kind of creates, it's kind of weird how ST2 is. And I know commissioners have objected about why it captures UCLA. And that is the reason, is we're trying to preserve the interests of people who are not so privileged and excise them out of areas where there are more privileged. So the F series does the best job at that. I think G is also very good at that in creating community interest.
Okay, next we have caller with phone number ending in 9344, then caller with phone number ending in 8581. I'm sorry, next is a caller with ending in 6072. So phone number 9344, you have 1 minute once you begin speaking.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Lydia Sencor Templeton. I am a resident of Supervisorial District 2 and a member of many community organizations. And tonight, I urge you to please adopt Map F2 Base Map 81. Keeping South LA whole and in a district with other neighborhoods that have similar characteristics and shared interests will allow for the Black community to elect a candidate of their choice. It is crucial for communities of color, for us to have political representation that understands our histories, our cultures, and our values. All of this will be diluted by pairing South LA with affluent cities on the coast. Keeping Cal State Dominguez Hills in Supervisorial District 2 is of great importance because without it, the other maps make Supervisorial District 2 the only district without at least one Cal State University.
Thank you.
That
Thank
fact
you. Time
alone is
is up.
disturbing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have caller ending in 6072, followed by caller ending in 8581. Caller ending in 6072, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Dalia, and I am a resident of South LA. I've organized with many community organizations, and I'm calling today to oppose Map B3 and Map G1. As these maps really, what they are doing is erasing the voices of the folks that really need representation, which are our Black community and our POC community. So I urge y'all to really reconsider those and support Map S2. And yeah, thank you.
Our 15 minutes is up. It's time to switch tie to the Zoom folks in the Q&A box.
Thank you. So we're gonna go then to Reina Schmitz, then Jessica Panduro. Reina, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you very much, commissioners. My name is Reina Schmitz. I live in an incorporated area of the 1st District for the last 35 years. And I am very grateful for all the work you guys are doing. Right now, F2 it definitely maintains a lot of the history we have as a community for the San Gabriel Valley. I'm really happy that you are keeping the options represent the community feedbacks because they keep the low income middle class immigrants in the San Gabriel Valley together. I understand how difficult your job is, but keeping us together as a tradition, we appreciate it very much that you are doing all you can to do that. Thank you so much for everything. And again, F2 is definitely in our radar. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jessica Panduro, then Nick Gaines. Jessica, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm here once again. My name is Jessica Panduro. I'm a resident of the east side of LA. I am here asking you to consider the modifications that were made to Map F and Map 81. These modifications were made to ensure that we didn't split communities of interest apart and also taking into account community voices. Map B packs Southeast LA communities with South LA, taking away the opportunity of creating districts more representative of LA County. Map G expands District 2 with coastal communities that have nothing in common with District 2 and what constituents have uplifted. Let's continue to work in creating equitable maps, maintaining a Latino CPAP in District 1 no lower than 53%. This will allow us, a historical Latino district, to continue to have a strong voice and to be able to elect someone who represents our voices. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jessica. Next, we have Nick Gaines, followed by Stephen Ortega using Anna Godoy's Zoom. So Nick, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you have 1 minute.
Hello, commissioners. Thank you for all your hard work on this. First of all, I think you're gonna have a really hard time saying with a straight face that the F variants are not predominantly based on race, which is the biggest reason I find them problematic. I'm from Canoga Park. This is a very diverse county with people that come across all kinds of people from different walks of life. We all live together in this county. I think that to address the community coalition's concerns, the Map G variants would have SD2 represented by the current supervisor, Holly Mitchell, for the duration of these maps' existence. And there is no chance that, first of all, she was elected in coalition with white voters in District 2. So moving SD2 towards the coast is not going to threaten Black representation in SD2. And the G variants, particularly Map 88, builds on the commission's concerns about taking Pomona out of SD1, it puts it back in SD1, keeps the east side together, the gateway cities together, SFV together. It incorporates the full character of LA County.
Thank you.
Please
Time
look
it
at
out.
88. Thank you.
Next, we have Stephen Ortega using Anna Godoy's Zoom, then Andrew Minner. Stephen, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute. Stephen, if you are there, you will need to unmute. Okay, I believe there's another Anna Godoy ID, so I will try that one.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Stephen Ortega, and I'm a former resident of Supervisorial District 1. I would like to comment that map F2 is currently the best map being proposed. With some edits, it can truly be a map that represents communities of interest. I do ask that you consider looking at map 81, which edits were created from map F and also takes into consideration communities of interest who have historically been disenfranchised for years. It's important for our district to remain majority Latinx because it allows representation in our county, which are predominantly Latinx, immigrants, and low income who rely on services and programs from social services providers with a long history of work in SD1. Also, I want to express my opposition to maps B3 and G1. These maps are not protecting the Black vote and representation in District 2. It packs the Black community in South LA and the Latinx community in Southeast LA into one district. We need to keep South LA.
Time is up. Thank you. Next, we have Andrew Menner, then Stuart Waldman. Andrew, momentarily you'll be able to speak. You will have 1 minute.
Good evening. I'm a resident of Thai Town in the East Hollywood neighborhood, and I work for the Thai Community Development Center. I represent the Thai community and the AAPI community and would like to urge the commission to oppose two maps, map B3 and map G1. We oppose map B3 because it divides Thai Town between SD1 and SD3 and is missing a block bound by Hollywood, Sunset, Western, and Serrano. We also oppose map G1 as it is missing the same block bound by Hollywood, Sunset, Western, and Serrano. However, we support map F2 with modifications as modified by the People's Block in map 81, as it keeps Thai Town, Little Tokyo, Chinatown whole and together in SD1, and Koreatown whole in SD2. The Thai community needs to be kept whole and intact as we are comprised of limited, English proficient, low-income, undocumented workers and renters vulnerable to gentrification and displacement. We need access to affordable housing and access to in-language and culturally competent healthcare. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Stuart Waldman, then David Nguyen. Stuart, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself and you will have 1 minute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon, commissioners. Good evening. I want to thank you for, I know this hasn't been easy. We continue to push to try and have a district that is a valley seat. I haven't had a chance to fully look at the new seats, but one thing I will say is any district that connects the San Fernando Valley to Redondo Beach should just be a non-starter, and you guys should just stop looking at that. These it'd be a difficult district to manage for the elected official, difficult for constituents. We liked B1, didn't like B2. I haven't had a chance to download and look at B3. We've been using G as the basis to grow. I know there's a bunch of maps out there, 87, 89 that are possibilities. But the most important thing is to try and fit as much in the San Fernando Valley into one district. Thank you.
Next, we have David Nguyen, then Shakina Diocaris. David, you will be able to unmute yourself and you will have 1 minute.
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is David Nguyen. First and foremost, thank you for this time to consider my words. For they have, if you consider my proposal, long-lasting implications for many people in our communities who need, quite frankly, more uplifting than others. I currently work in South Central LA and oppose map B3 and G1 because I believe that those that have been affected by the disparities of a so-called equitable and a progressive LA needs to be the ones who has the voice and a means as a group to affect real change in their own communities. No offense, but what would coastal cities know about uplifting South LA? We understand the struggle and how best to uplift our own communities. It is ignorant to believe that we need wealthy outsiders to come in and fix things they have no clue of. I am in support of map F2 with modifications. This map, although not the best, is a step closer to a more equal playing field when you incorporate LAX and UCLA. Thank you for your consideration and time.
Thank you. Next, we have Shakina Diagaris, then Wade Major. Shakina, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Shekinah. I'm a community organizer in historic Filipino town, and I'm calling in support of MAP F2 in part because it keeps API historic neighborhoods whole and united. I also oppose MAP B2 and G3 for dividing our communities. Residents of the Asian American neighborhoods of historic Filipino town, Koreatown, Little Tokyo, Thai town, and Chinatown have shared interests and deeply rely on funding to community organizations that provide in-language and culturally appropriate resources, such as COVID-19 vaccines, voter rights education, and programs protecting our Asian American communities against rising anti-Asian hate. Splitting up our communities will effectively silence our AAPI communities and take away much-needed resources from our businesses, families, and children. I urge the Commission to continue prioritizing keeping our neighborhoods together. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Shekinah. Next, we have Wade Major, then Carlene Davis. Wade, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute.
Wade Major, lifelong county resident and public works commissioner from Malibu, speaking for myself. I'd first like to commend you all on your dedication to what is clearly an extremely challenging process serving an exceptionally diverse county. I have weighed in previously on behalf of MAP B2 as it represents the only logical and practical delineation for the communities in the proposed District 3. B3 is a step backwards as it extends us further into south into denser, more urban areas that do not share the same concerns and challenges. This padding for population badly imbalances the needs of the district. B2 remains the only map that satisfies our concerns for safety and emergency services, as well as the shared municipal, cultural, and environmental interests of our communities, which enables us to better care for the coastal and mountain resources enjoyed by the entire county. I urge you to please preserve the map B2 boundaries for District 3, whatever you may do with other districts. In a county this large and diverse, demography is necessarily limited by geography, climate, and topography. And this is especially true for District 3. It's why map B2 and not B3 is the only one that makes sense for us. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Next, we have Carlene Davis, then Isabel Gonzalez. Carlene, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you have 1 minute.
Greetings, Commissioner. Thank you so much for this time. My name is Carlene Davis. I'm a 55-year resident of SD2, a 20-year homeowner in SD2, and a business owner in SD2. I am speaking to express my strong opposition to map B3 because it represents a disenfranchisement of the Black and African American vote, and I would like to let the numbers speak for me. B3 removes 21,752 African Americans from SD2, and then the communities that it replaced represents a combined 5,124 African Americans for a net loss of 16,628 African Americans from SD2. So once again, I am speaking in strong opposition to the proposed B3 supervisorial map. Thank you.
Okay, I see Commissioner Franklin's hand is up.
Yes, thank you for your public comment. Could you repeat again the numbers of the African Americans that were removed from District 2?
Oh, am I back on?
Yes.
Okay, yes. By virtue of the projected census numbers, by removing Carson, you lose 21,752 Black residents.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Next, we have Isabel Gonzalez, then Derek Steele. Isabel, you will be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you have 1 minute.
Aló, bueno, ¿me escuchan?
Yes, sí.
Hola, buenas noches, comisionados. Mi nombre es Isabel González y soy una organizadora comunitaria en el Distrito Supervisorial 1. Por más de 10 años he trabajado con estudiantes y padres por igual para organizar y defender sus comunidades y abogar por las necesidades de sus familias para construir una comunidad más fuerte y saludable en el este. Quería llamar hoy y mostrar mi apoyo al mapa F2 porque es el mejor mapa base y creo que con algunos cambios leves puede ser un mapa que refleje adecuadamente las comunidades de interés del este. Les pido que consideren mirar el mapa 81 que hace modificaciones al mapa F y toma en consideración las comunidades de interés que históricamente han sido privadas de sus derechos. Es importante que nuestros distritos sigan siendo mayoritariamente latino porque tal como está, ha podido garantizar que la comunidad latina tenga la representación adecuada en la mesa con un liderazgo que comprenda y luche por sus necesidades, ya que es seleccionado por ellos y refleja la comunidad del este. También quiero expresar mi oposición al mapa B3 y G1. Estos mapas dificultan la representación de las comunidades afroamericanas. La adaptación de estos mapas conducirá a la privación continua del derecho a voto de estas comunidades y afirma la desigualdad y injusticia raciales. Los Ángeles ha sido un faro para este país en lo que respecta al progreso. Continuemos manteniendo ese manto, luchando por la equidad racial y asegurándonos de que las comunidades latinas y afroamericanas sean representadas adecuadamente en los mapas de nuestros distritos. Muchas gracias.
Commissioner Kenny, I see your hand is up.
That is the end of our time of the oral from QA. We need to go back to the phone. I also want our interpreters to check. It seemed like we had a heavier overlay of both the English and the Spanish simultaneously.
That is why my hand was up, and I wonder if we could repeat the last comment. I don't know if I'm the only person who was hearing both the English and the Spanish. But if it was coming through, it was completely garbled, and I would request that the commenter repeat her comments and let's have the channels be correctly delineated so that we can hear either the English or the Spanish and not both at the same time. Thank you.
Commissioner Kenny, I believe the issue is the commenter will need to select the interpretation services to the Spanish channel. So if the commenter would like to make the comment again, if our interpreters can help guide our public commenter to select the Spanish channel, that would be great.
Aló, sí, sí, estoy en el canal en español. ¿Sí me pueden escuchar?
Yes.
Ok, si gustan lo puedo dar de nuevo. Ok, so sí, decía buenas noches, comisionados.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Ok, buenas noches, comisionados. Mi nombre es Isabel González y soy una organizadora comunitaria en el Distrito Supervisorial 1. Por más de 10 años he trabajado con estudiantes y padres por igual para organizar y defender sus comunidades y abogar por las necesidades de sus familias para construir una comunidad más fuerte y saludable en el este. Quería llamar hoy y mostrar mi apoyo al mapa F2 porque es el mejor mapa base y creo que con algunos cambios leves puede ser un mapa que refleje adecuadamente las comunidades de interés del este. Les pido que consideren mirar el mapa 81 que hace modificaciones al mapa F y toma en consideración las comunidades de interés que históricamente han sido privadas de sus derechos. Es importante que nuestros distritos sigan siendo mayoritariamente latino porque tal como está, ha podido garantizar que la comunidad latina tenga la representación adecuada en la mesa con un liderazgo que comprenda y luche por sus necesidades, ya que es seleccionado por ellos y refleja la comunidad del este. También quiero expresar mi oposición a los mapas B3 y G1. Estos mapas dificultan la representación de las comunidades afroamericanas. La adaptación de estos mapas conducirá a la privación continua del derecho a voto de estas comunidades y afirmará la desigualdad e injusticia racial. Los Ángeles ha sido un faro para este país en lo que respecta al progreso. Continuemos manteniendo este manto, luchando por la equidad racial y asegurándonos de que las comunidades latinas y afroamericanas sean representadas adecuadamente en los mapas de nuestros distritos. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Time is up. Okay, so we will be moving to phone numbers. And just as a reminder for everyone, the interpreters are doing a great job, but if you can slow down for them, that would be wonderful. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 8581, then caller with phone number ending in 8582. So caller 8581, you will have 1 minute. As a reminder, press *6 to unmute.
Muy buenas tardes, comisionado. Mi nombre es Tania Maguiña, de la ciudad de Whittier. Soy una líder comunitaria involucrada por más de 17 años en la comunidad, trabajando con todas las ciudades alrededor de Los Ángeles. Y pues yo estoy a favor del mapa B3. Me gustaría que se mantenga ese mapa porque hemos trabajado durante años para poder fortalecer nuestras comunidades y trabajar en una mutua colaboración, y creo que hasta ahora lo venimos haciendo muy bien de esa forma, pero obviamente estamos conectados desde Whittier, como desde aquí, con Long Beach, con las diferentes ciudades, inclusive trabajamos en mutua colaboración con el este de Los Ángeles y las ciudades alternas. Pues realmente agradecería que ustedes mantengan y tengan en mente que todos los distritos o las ciudades que comprende el distrito 4 se mantengan unidas. Muchas gracias y buenas noches.
Thank you. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 8582, then caller with phone number ending in 3138. Caller 8582, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking. As a reminder, if you're calling in, press *6 to unmute. So caller 8582, caller with phone number ending in 8582.
Muy buenas noches, comisionados. Mi nombre es Ricardo Pajuelo y soy residente de la ciudad de Whittier por más de 18 años y 12 años como voluntario del distrito escolar de mi ciudad, de Whittier. He apoyado a los padres de familia hispanos durante mucho tiempo, y por mi experiencia en mi comunidad y con mis familias hispanas, me gustaría que se mantengan juntas todas las ciudades del mapa del distrito número 4. El vínculo que hemos desarrollado entre los hispanos nos fortalece, y eso debemos seguir continuando en apoyarlo y acrecentarlo. Tenemos vínculos con ciudades muy cercanas e instituciones educativas que apoyan a nuestros estudiantes hispanos, que son, y lo sabemos, los que menos favorecidos. Por ejemplo, KLC y Long Beach, por lo que me gustaría recomendar apoyar el mapa B3. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Okay, next we have caller with phone number ending in 3138, then caller ending in 3473. So caller 3138, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking. Caller phone number ending in 3138, press *6 to unmute.
Hi, I am Jessica Martinez, and I would like to thank you all for your service as a commissioner. I am a Whittier City Councilwoman, and I would like to call to, I'm calling to encourage you to have B3 as the map for the Board of Supervisors districting. One of the most important reasons is that we are part of gateway cities, and it extends from Long Beach to San Pedro and upwards. And all of us have common interests, including the MTA, homelessness issues, resources that we all share. And so as part of Gateway Cities, we would like to continue to remain together in an effort to better serve our constituents. So I once again encourage you to adopt MAP B3.
Thank you. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 3473, then caller ending in 4434. Caller 3473, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Alejandro Juarez, and I am a resident of Supervisorial District 1, and I work with youth in the east side of Los Angeles and teach indigenous traditions. I'm here to urge all the commissioners to please listen to the community and adopt MAP 81, which makes modifications to MAP F2. You see, for decades, District 1 has been home to the predominantly working class Mexican Latinx community that has a long history of struggle and equitable victories. From the early 1960s East LA walkouts to the high school students that helped get to college today, MAP B3 and G1 puts our communities at risk of not having the needed representation we have fought so hard for, as well as diluting the political power of our Black residents and neighbors in District 2. Please support F2 and take the recommendations. Remove West Hollywood and Hollywood from SD1, connecting them to similar communities like SD3. Unite the SGV with SD1, Arcadia and Temple, and SD1. This is only possible if we remove West Hollywood. Is removed. Collectively, this increases the Latinx PVAP to 53%.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So next, we have caller with phone number ending in 4. I'm sorry, Commissioner Holtzman, your hand is up.
Yeah. Do we have those recommendations in writing? Have they been submitted in writing to commenter?
Commenter, I can bring commenter back if you would like.
Yeah, those are quick lists, and seem to be well thought out. So, if we could get that in writing, we could consider them easier.
Okay, so the caller is back. Press *6.
Yes, I will put those in writing just to make sure we maintain the Latinx CVAP up to 53%. Hopefully that's the goal, right? Maintain our power. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so next we have caller with phone number ending in 4434, then caller ending in 3676. Caller 4434, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Donna Dell. I am a resident of District 2. I have lived here my entire life. I am here to oppose B3 and G1 in support of F2 base map. This community is our community. It's a Black community. We need to be represented by our own. My parents and grandparents, both sets are from this community, lived in this community their lives and have built it. This is 100 years worth. I had no idea that redistricting was even a thing until recently. Please keep our community our community. The coast cannot represent us because they are not us. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 4434, then caller 3676. So caller 4434, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking. Okay, caller with phone number ending in 4434, press *6 to unmute.
Hi, commissioners. That was me. I spoke.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
No, it's okay. Thank you.
My apologies.
Our community is our community. Thank you.
Okay, so many numbers. Okay, caller ending in 3676, then caller ending in 2336. Caller 3676, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Haypen Im. I am the president of a nonprofit called Faith and Community Empowerment located in Koreatown. I am here today to speak in support of MAP F2 with modifications, modified by the People's Bloc in MAP 81. We want to make sure that the San Gabriel Valley District is united in SD4, and the West San Gabriel Valley District is united in SD1, and the various API communities, Little Tokyo, Chinatown, the Filipino Thai Town are all together in SD1, and that Koreatown is kept whole in SD2, and that the Tongan communities of interest in Hawthorne, Lenox, and Inglewood is all kept together in SD2 as well. I want to just highlight the fact that representation matters. As one example.
Time is up. Thank you. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 2336, then number ending in 0944. So caller 2336, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, good evening, commissioners. My name is Ana Baena. I attend Roosevelt High School, and I am a resident and a student who lives in Boyle Heights, which is a part of Supervisional District 1. I am here today because I'm advocating in favor of MAP 81, which makes modifications to MAP F2. I believe that it will give the most representation for Black communities, unlike MAP B3 and G1, which lowers the Black CDAP. This is very important to me because I believe the Black communities should have the right to have more representation. And if you vote in favor of MAP B2 or G1, you are diluting our Black representation in LA County when we should be protecting our Black community. In my U.S. history class, I am learning about how folks were not even well represented back then or had the right to vote. I am here today to voice my concern that the Black community is represented in these maps. Commissioners, please vote in favor of MAP 81, which made alterations to MAP F2. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have caller with number ending in 0944, then caller with 7960. So caller 0944, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, I'm here with my Aunt B and myself. I'm speaking in support of B3 and G1. While F2 has a lot of great parts, West Hollywood will not be a community of interest in East LA, and the map should be modified to place West Hollywood in District 3 if you're going with that map. V can also speak.
Okay, I'm against B3, G1 supports. I deny the F2. The bottom line is this: you're playing checkers with people's lives. Okay, you need to stop that. You end up making a bigger mess than this already is. If you really want to help a community, why don't you start making jobs in the community? Give people something to do, something to support themselves, and stop trying to slice everything up into something that you want. Get out there and help the people. Stop with this monkeying around. This one to cut up everything into pieces that make sense to you, they don't make sense to anybody else.
Thank you. Time is up.
And you my time is up. And that.
Okay, next we have caller with phone number ending in 7960, then caller with phone number ending 8817. So caller ending in 7960, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Carlos Leon. I'm with Community Coalition, an organization in South Central LA representing thousands of residents that for over 30 years. Spaces that, in communities that continue to be silent in this process and frustrated, honestly, because decisions are being made without their voices. Our community, which is predominantly Black and Brown, has dealt with systemic racism for decades. And is at this point dealing with gentrification, displacement, has been hurt the most with the pandemic, and honestly dealing with very blatant anti-Black racism, which we're all seeing in every redistricting process. Please support the People's Bloc, opposing MAP B3, opposing MAP G1, and in full support of MAP F281 with some modifications. Please do the right thing. Understand that there's the systems of racism and anti-Blackness and Black erasure, and be on the right side of history.
Thank you. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 8817, then caller with phone number ending in 2164. Caller 8817, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Efrain Babona.
I'm sorry, the volume is a bit low. Can you speak up?
Oh, hello. That's good.
I believe the commissioners are still having a difficult time hearing.
Oh, sorry. Can you listen to me now?
Yes.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Efrain Babona, and I'm a resident / stakeholder of Supervisual District 1 and attend Abraham Lincoln High School. I'm addressing the board today to say no to map B3 and G1 because they will be breaking the communities of interest like the cities of South LA. We do not want a map that erases the historical / political power and dilutes the Black ZVAP of District 2 by pairing them up with UCLA, Westwood, and coastal communities. The fact that y'all even pair these cities up shows a lack of representation and cultural understanding in these maps. We demand a better map such as map 81, which makes modification to map F2, considers the communities of interest and does not lower the Black ZVAP. Now is the time to stand up for Black voices and to listen to the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, we
next.
need to switch to the Zoom. That
Okay,
will
so-
conclude the 15-minute portion for the phone.
Okay, so switching over to Zoom. Next, we have Derek Steele, then Candace Cho. Derek, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you have 1 minute.
My name is Derek Steele. I'm a resident of Inglewood, California. I live in Inglewood. I work in Inglewood. My children go to school in Inglewood. Represent my family, my neighbors, my fellow community members. I want to remind you, and you probably heard the sentiment already, that, you know, the commission and the work that you are doing, there's gravity in your decision. Millions of lives hang in the balance. It's not a time to test theories. Lives and whole communities and people's lives hang in the balance. And because of that, it's important that representation and access and the leveling up of impacted people's needs and how they are addressed, especially the Black community. I urge you not to consider map B or map G. Please move forward. Map F2, base map 81. It protects historical communities of interest and maintains Black influence districts with a 30% Black CVAP. I also want to just say that SC2 would end up with the only one that doesn't have a Cal State if you take out Cal State Dominguez Hills. We got to be thoughtful about what this actually does to our communities, especially if you're adding representation for folks who are not in the community.
Thank you. Time is up.
Be thoughtful. Thank you.
Commenter, could you please explain what you mean by support map F2 base map 81? Which one of those two do you most support?
Am I back on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back on. F2 or 81?
To be honest, map 81, People's Block.
81, not F2 then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Candace Cho, then Stephanie Garcia. Candace, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Hello, commissioners. My name is Candace Cho. I grew up in Walnut, graduated from high school in Roland Heights, and live and work in the city of LA, where I'm a resident of Supervisorial District 2 and work for the Asian Pacific Policy and Planning Council, or APCON. APCON is a coalition of over 40 community-based organizations representing the 1.5 million AAPIs who make up 15% of LA County. Our members come from the communities they serve: Koreatown, Thai Town, Historic Filipino Town, Little Tokyo, Chinatown, and the West San Gabriel Valley, to name a few. All three maps being considered by this commission break up AAPI communities of interest across the county. Given these choices, I ask that the commission adopt map F2 with modifications as put forth by the People's Bloc in map 81. These modifications respect and reflect input from AAPI community members, as well as Latinx and Black community members with shared policy concerns. They keep our communities of interest whole, and they would accurately reflect the county's demographics. Please do not adopt maps B2 or G1. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. Next, we have Stephanie Garcia, then Sandra Guzman. Stephanie, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute. Stephanie, you are currently muted, so if you are there, please unmute yourself.
This is Maria Brenes.
Okay, it seems this Zoom account
I can
entered in
speak.
Stephanie Garcia.
I can speak. This is Maria Brenes. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for your service. I'm hopeful your decision will strengthen multiracial representation in LA County. Please reference map 81 to strengthen map F2. These maps clearly create 2 Latinx majority CBAP districts while also protecting SD2 as a coalition district under VRA. The census data proves that there are now 3 minority dense areas of the county: East LA, Greater South LA, and the Southeast of LA. Each of these should be in a separate district and not packed together in violation of the VRA. Maps 81 and F2 create separate districts for the communities of interest of East LA, Greater South LA, and the Southeast of LA. I urge you to eliminate map B3 as that map violates the VRA because it packs Black and Latinx voters into one district in SD2. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, so next we have Sandra Guzman, then Teresa Eilers. Sandra, you will have 1 minute once you begin speaking.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Sandra Guzman, and I am a stakeholder of Supervisorial District 1. I am here today to show my support for map F2. I'd like to point out that map F2 is currently the finest base map. It can be a map that takes into consideration of communities of interest with a few adjustments. I urge the commissioners to have a look at map 81, which modifies map F and considers historically disenfranchised communities of interest. I'd also like to convey my disapproval of maps B3 and G1. The previous work of communities is projecting the Black vote and representation in District 2 is not taken into account in these maps. It is important for us to ensure that we take the necessary action steps to amend past wrongs, and we can start doing that by not repeating the same mistakes of the past that have led to continual negligence and abuse of communities of color. I hope that you agree with me and support map F2 and consider map 81 for the possible adjustments, and join me in standing against maps B3 and G1 to secure proper representation for communities of color in our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Teresa Eilers, then Karen Diaz. Teresa, you will be able to unmute yourself, and then you will have 1 minute.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Eilers, and I live in Rosemead in the San Gabriel Valley. Thank you for listening to the feedback of our San Gabriel Valley communities regarding our diversity and not lumping us all into one district. The foothill cities are different from the cities that run along the 10 and 60 freeways. We are glad that these 3 options represent the community's feedback because they keep low and middle income immigrant communities in the San Gabriel Valley together, because working class areas of the SGV do not share common interests with other wealthier parts of the SGV. The pandemic has exposed how different cities in the SGV are different from one another. So please always consider the income differences of the SGV cities when making your decisions, and do not consider the SGV as one district. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Karen Diaz, then Beatriz Sotero. Karen, you will be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you have 1 minute.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. My name is Karen Diaz from Cherla. I'm also an Inglewood resident. Thank you so much for your tireless work drafting LA County maps. Cherla would like the commission to continue to give due weight to Voting Rights Act and communities of interest as the commission works towards balancing total populations and compliance with the Voters First Act and VRA. It will have to split cities, for example, including the entire city of Long Beach in one district may result in Latino, Black, and APX being divided, district with strong minority influence being packed, or paired with the similar areas and small cities being cut out. Cherla continues to support option C because it is the only map that respects the Latino community and gives us the immediate opportunity to elect a candidate of choice in VOS 3. However, under the current options, draft F2 is the best option for immigrant community members. We are proposing changes to include Wilmington along with Carson in District 2 by moving that line to Southwestern, making a cut following the West and the East Basin. Also include parts of Torrance in District 2 by bringing down the line along State Route 107 and Sepulveda Boulevard. Thank you so much for the time today.
Time is up, and I believe Commissioner Franklin, you have your hand up.
Yes, I do. Thank you for your comment. I have a question, a clarifying question. Did you say that you mentioned the VRA, which we are abiding by, but did you mention splitting Long Beach, that one of the maps split Long Beach?
No, what I was mentioning was that in order to follow the Voter Rights Act, and I will include a longer testimony in writing this evening, that you should consider not having the entire city of Long Beach in one district, because by doing this, it results in Latino and APIs and Black communities UIs being divided. There's a lot of differences within the city of Long Beach that shouldn't be kept together.
We look forward to seeing that written statement then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Beatriz Sotero, then Zoila Rodriguez. Beatriz, you will be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you have 1 minute.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Beatriz Soltero y soy residente del este de Los Ángeles. Quiero expresar que el mapa F2 es el mejor para edificar. El mapa 81 hace varios cambios beneficiarios que apoyan en asegurar representación a comunidades de color. Este mapa fue edificado con voces de comunidad, asegurando que no quiebren nuestras comunidades. Ya es bastante difícil y necesitamos distritos que apoyen al pueblo a seguir luchando por el derecho a existir. Este proceso puede ser muy dañino para nuestras comunidades si no toman en cuenta las voces de los que vivimos aquí. Los mapas G1 y B3 disminuyen las voces de nuestros hermanos afroamericanos y no toman en cuenta lo que han venido escuchando junta tras junta. Estamos aquí porque es nuestro hogar el que están separando. Por favor, escuchen nuestras plegarias. Que Dios los ilumine a todos ustedes para que puedan decidir lo mejor para las comunidades más vulnerables. Bendiciones.
Thank you. Next, we have Zoila Rodriguez, then Ryan Welch. Zoila, you will be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you have 1 minute.
And I'm a Chula member of the San Fernando Valley. I've lived here for 20 years. Drawing maps for the largest county in the country is truly a collective effort. We commend you for your leadership and still trying to balance a wide array of public testimony with the legally mandated criteria. Chula would like to ask the Commission to provide transparency on the Commission's RPV analysis, ensuring that maps comply with Federal Voter Rights Act in one of the highest criteria the Commission's maps must see. Therefore, we urge you to make public the list of elections and methodology used for RPV analysis and more detailed maps, either in the form of detailed web maps and soon with capability and or release of shapefiles with the public can use to see where the LA County Citizens Redistricting Commission consultants are claiming RPV. Chula continues to support option C because it is the only map that fully respects the Latino community by providing the immediate opportunity to elect candidates of choice. All other maps fall short of this goal, including those drawn to Latino majority districts, CBAP districts. In fact, other maps actually put minority groups against each other. We want to build more political power for all immigrant residents in LA County, not just one. Under the current map.
Thank you, time is up.
I had a question.
Yes.
I just wanted to be clear which map she was supporting.
I'm supporting map C, option C, because it's the only map that fully, but if we need to make changes to F2, that would be the other option that we support. If we can make changes to San Fernando Valley and include Lakeview Terrace and Sunland into that part of the.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Ryan Welsh, then Olivia Barber. Ryan, you'll be able to unmute yourself, and then you will have 1 minute.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all again for your work. It's great that this is going on. And I'm Ryan Welch. I live in West Hollywood, District 3. And I support map B3. I think it best preserves and updates the communities of interest regarding my district, as well as the surrounding districts, and keeping those preserved. And you know, I think that that F2, the revision to that is fine, but the original F2 is kind of a disaster. And it just doesn't. I just saw it and I went, oh my God, no! That it just would be difficult to navigate for any representative to get around on something like that. And I think it looks to the past instead of looking towards the future. And I think looking towards the future is what we need to keep in mind when this is going to be around for another 10 years to come, and things will be changing. So we need to keep that in mind. So thank you so much. I support B3.
I see a hand from Commissioner Holtzman.
Ty, I see in the QA, there's a Kathy Knight who I don't know if she's in the queue to speak. And also I noticed a note from Derek Steele, who's already spoken. I don't think they understand 15 minutes of on the phone, 15 minutes of people on the QA, 15 minutes on the phone and back and forth. So just wanted to.
I've been trying to let people know about that, but Derek has already spoken for sure.
I know he has, but he raised the question of why he didn't get picked up earlier. So I thought others might have the same problem.
Okay, so we have 45 hands up and 108 left in the Q&A. So just letting folks know, if we haven't called on you yet, there is a queue. But moving on, we have Olivia Barber, then Chris Rowe. Olivia, you will be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute.
Can you hear me?
Yes. So, Olivia, I believe you have 2 devices open. Log out of one.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, my name.
Okay, so Olivia, I'm going to remove the other one with your name on it. Is that okay?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Olivia Barber. I'm a 50-year resident of South LA. I'm a member of Community Coalition and lots of other community organizations. Can you log me out? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I think I got it done. I'm a resident of South LA for 50 plus years. I'm with Community Coalition and several other organizations in the South LA area. I would like to urge the commission to use map F2 as a best, because it's the best base map. And I'd like you to also look at the modifications in map 81. I strongly oppose maps B3 and G1 because G1 puts us together with coastal communities that we have nothing in common with. And map B3 dilutes the Black vote. Again, I would like you to urge you to use F2 as the best base map with modifications from map 81. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Ty, we need to go to the phone calls now. We've gone past the 15 minute mark.
Okay, so moving on to the phone calls. And we are reaching the 8 p.m. deadline. So I just do want to remind members of the public who have not yet spoken and have not yet signed up to put your name in the Q&A. And if you are calling in, go ahead and raise your hand. Once we hit the 8 p.m. mark, I'll take some screenshots of who has their hand raised so that we don't miss you. So moving on to phone numbers. So we have caller with phone number ending in 2164, then caller ending in 7908. Caller ending in 2164, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Juan Carlos. I am a resident of Supervisorial District 1. Map F2 is the best base map. With a few changes, it can be the map that takes community interest as a priority. I ask you to look at map 81, which makes changes to map F, and listen to the voices of communities of interest, which have history with being disenfranchised. This is a time of opportunity to make a right out of these historical wrongs and help our voices be heard. I oppose maps B3 and G1 because they limit Black votes and representation at the district level. The success of our communities is conjoined, and keeping South LA as is ensures that we keep Black community connected. The voices of our community have long been systematically dismissed and thrown away. Keeping us together ensures the opportunities we have fought and organized for so hard for, that we remain and enrich our people moving toward the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 3293, then caller ending in 6239. So caller ending in 3293, you will have 1 minute. Okay. Caller ending in 3293, if you can hear me, you will need to press *6 to unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, give me 1 sec. Sorry, I had. No. Okay. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Anna Godoy, and I'm a lifelong resident of LA County, and I'm here again today to demand that you dismiss maps B3 and G1 and continue to support map F2 with modifications to map 81. I'm appalled that map B has continued to advance this far into the redistricting process. It is a map that disenfranchises Black residents of the county by minimizing their voting power, and it won't allow them to have fair representation. In addition, South LA has nothing in common with coastal cities. Map G is no better than map B. It still groups SB2 with beach communities and packs South LA with Southeast Los Angeles, not allowing for fair representation. As a Southeast resident who currently resides under SB1, I will be one of those residents that will have a new supervisor at the end of this process. But my concern is not about my representatives, because that's the power of organizing, and the CBAP you have the power to create with map F. What I am concerned about is the communities I will be lumped in with for the next 10 years that will minimize the voices of the new SB4.
So time is up, and it's we're right at the 8 o'clock time to probably take a break and stop any more signups.
Okay.
So co-chairs, next steps?
Yes, so we did agree previously to take a break every 90 minutes or so. So let's take our 10-minute break, be back at, what was that, 8:11, 8:12?
8:11. Yeah.
8:11. Okay, thank you.
We are approaching 8:11. And Co-Chair Maeda, you're
Gather
muted.
back, please.
I have that we should pick up on the phone for another 12 minutes.
We only have 2 more from calling in, and the rest will be through the Q&A and those who are logged in via Zoom and have their hand raised.
Let's go ahead and take those 2 then, and then go to the Q&A.
And how many do we have in the Q&A, Ty?
We have 128, but I'm expecting it to be less because some users have entered in multiple times.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have 2 remaining callers, and I do see there are folks raising their hands right now. So I just do want to remind members of the public that any signups received after 8 p.m., we will not be taking oral comments. For those who signed up after 8 p.m., we do encourage you to submit written public comments to the public comment form. Okay, so with that, we are going to go to caller with phone number ending in 6239, then caller with phone number ending in 4981. Caller ending in 6239, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, hello, good evening, commissioners. My name is Ariana Rios, and I'm a resident of the east side of Los Angeles. I believe map F2 is the best map when modifications from map 81 are made. With some modifications, it can be the map that is equitable for all communities impacted by this very important decision. I ask that you look at map 81 to make modifications to map F2 and take into consideration communities of interest who have been historically disenfranchised. Modifications to map F2, like removing West Hollywood and Hollywood from SD1 and connecting them with similar communities in SD3, are important because we are trying to protect these communities of interest. I urge the commission to not consider map B3 and G1 as an option. I understand this decision is complicated and there are many communities to take into account, but to choose these maps would be an egregious mistake that severely impacts the Black and Latino community that has historically been done a disservice by the city and this nation as a whole. Map B3 packs the Black community in South LA and the Latino community in Southeast LA into one district, which reduces our ability to have more representation at the county level. Do not take away our ability to have equal representation.
Thank you. Next, we have caller with phone number ending in 4981. Then we have, moving back to the Q&A, Chris Rowe. So caller ending in 4981, you will have 1 minute. Caller ending in 4981, I see that you've unmuted yourself, but we are not able to hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Erica Jimenez. I am a resident of Boyle Heights in Supervisorial District 1. I'm here today to advocate for map F2 as the best base map with modifications for map 81. The reason being is that we need to protect our communities of interest that are Latinx communities. This is why I oppose map B3 and G1. Those maps don't take the historical work our communities have done to protect the Black vote and the Latinx representation in District 2. If you go with map B3 and G1, you pack the Black community in South LA and Latinx communities in Southeast LA into one district, which reduces the ability to have more representation at the county level. Please vote in favor of representation of community of interest. Please vote in favor of map 81 that makes modifications to map F2. Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving over to Q&A because we have no more callers through the phone. We have Chris Roth and Yanel Sains. Chris, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute.
Chris Rowe, resident of West Hills for more than 43 years. Councilmember Krikorian spoke eloquently about map 78 and why we should keep the San Fernando Valley whole with its neighboring Las Virgenes COI. Councilmember Bob Blumenfield in your packet has submitted to support map 78 and Commissioner Holtzman's map 86. While I was on the call tonight, I looked at a Canoga Park resident suggested map 88. So I looked at that very closely. What it does is it cuts off parts of Porter Ranch and Chatsworth. What I'd like you to do is take base map 78 and keep the San Fernando Valley whole with Glendale and Burbank. And I want you to cut the area of Santa Monica off at State Beach to keep Rustic Canyon at and put it with UCLA and the veterans all should be down in the other district with Santa Monica and everything. I'm sorry. Thank you so much.
Next, we have Yanel Sainz, then Marcia Hanscom. Yanel, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute.
Okay, hello, my name is Yanel Sainz. I'm from Juntos Florence Firestone Together, and I'm a resident of unincorporated Florence Firestone in District 2. I support map F2 with the modification that Florence Firestone be moved back to District 2. Florence Firestone is a neighborhood that is historically a part of South Central Los Angeles and not Stella or Southeast LA. Although both Florence Firestone and Stella share similar demographics with regards to the Latinx population, Florence Firestone has more in common demographically with its surrounding neighborhoods of Central Alameda, Watts, and Green Meadows, as they have both Latinx and Black residents and shared histories as South Central LA neighborhoods. Moving Florence Firestone to District 4 will contribute to the erasure of Black residents that live in Florence Firestone. As an unincorporated community, we lack proper political representation and heavily rely on the supervisor as our sole representative, and so redistricting Florence Firestone away from District 2 will only cause further confusion for residents living here and further disenfranchise our community. Please keep Florence Firestone in South Central and District 2 by modifying map F2. Thank you.
Thank you, Yanel. Next, we have Marcia Hanscom, then Manjusha Kulkarni. Marcia, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you, honorable commissioners. My name is Marcia Hanscom. I'm an environmental advocate and I live in the 4th District in Playa del Rey. And first, I recognize you have a very challenging job juggling all of the communities of interest. But I'm going to ask that you please go back to map B, as in bird, B2. You asked that we give you a fresh perspective, and I hope to do this by making sure you are aware of the non-human residents of LA County, including numerous rare and imperiled species. And I guarantee you that many, many residents from all over LA County of all races and ethnicities love the birds and other wildlife we work to protect and are welcoming everyone to come to enjoy. That's part of why I asked you keep the communities of interest on the coast together from Long Beach through Marina del Rey. The supervisor and her staff have very unique knowledge and understanding of the coastal zone and the California Coastal Commission and how it works to protect these areas. Thank you. Please go back to B2.
Thank you, Marcia. Next, we have Manjusha Kulkarni, then Austin Sear. Manjusha, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Manju Kulkarni and I'm Executive Director of AppCon. I've lived in the Westchester area in SD2 for 20 years. AppCon is a coalition of over 40 community-based organizations that serve and represent the 1.5 million AAPIs in Los Angeles County. I'm here to discuss the issues around maps B3 and G1 and urge you to reject those and to support instead map F2, that is map 81 in the People's Block map. Specifically, I would urge you to unite East San Gabriel Valley and SD4, West San Gabriel Valley and SD1, keeping Little Tokyo, Chinatown and Thai Town all together and whole in SD1 and Koreatown whole in SD2. Finally, we urge you to keep Tongan community whole in SD2 as well. Thank you so much. And we want to maintain strong and Latino and Black communities and allowing communities of color to.
Thank you. Time is up. Next, we have Austin Sear, then Sylvia Arredondo. Austin, you'll be able to unmute yourself. You will have 1 minute.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Austin Sear, and I am a West Hollywood resident. I think the maps that you've advanced are generally strong and accomplish many of your goals. I've been watching these meetings and I really have to commend all of you for your dedication. I know this is not a simple task. I like map F2. I think it does a great job of keeping many historic communities of interest together. And I second many of the comments I've heard tonight. But this is the first time in a while I've seen West Hollywood being seriously considered to be separated from District 3, which it is in map 83 F2. I think this is a mistake and does us all here in West Hollywood a disservice. I agree it's 100% important we keep historic communities of interest together, and West Hollywood would really not be a community of interest as a part of the East Side. West Hollywood is also a part of the West Side Cities Council of Governments, which exists in District 3 and where I believe it should remain. I like F2, but please modify F2 to include West Hollywood in District 3. I also like the People's Block map, as well as some of the other maps that you put forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Austin. Next, we have Sylvia Arredondo, then Kristen McGuire. Sylvia, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. Sylvia Arredondo. I'm with Communities for a Better Environment. I also live in Wilmington, out in the harbor area. And Communities for a Better Environment, we work in the Southeast Los Angeles cities, which is in currently Supervisorial District 1, and Wilmington in the harbor area, which is in Supervisorial District 4. And I'm here today to voice our support for map F2 with modifications that can be found in map 81, which is the People's Block map. And also we oppose map B3 and map G1 because these maps do compact and dilute voices of historically communities of interest and would compact Latinx voices in the Southeast cities with South LA, and dilutes Black communities' voices and the possibilities to continue to elect their representative of choice.
Thank you. Next, we have Kristen McGuire. Actually, Kristen McGuire isn't on Zoom anymore, so we're going to move on to Constance Sullivan, then John Lewis. Constance, momentarily, you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, I'm Constance Sullivan, a longtime resident of the South Bay and an activist with the Torrance Refinery Action Alliance. And I want to commend you for the work that you've been doing. I've been watching you for a while now, and it's clear that you do listen to the public comments and that you make your map changes accordingly, and I appreciate that. As a longtime resident of the South Bay, I like map B3, because it keeps the entire South Bay together. As a Torrance Refinery Action Alliance activist, I like B3 because Torrance, Carson, and Wilmington are all in the same district, and that's where most of the refineries in Los Angeles County are located. And that would mean we would be working with a single supervisor who would gain expertise in that space. Thank you for all that you've done, and thank you for giving me this time.
Thank you, Constance. Next, we have John Lewis and then Carl Torosian. John, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself. You will have 1 minute.
Great. Well, thank you and good evening, commissioners. My name is John Lewis. I'm a council member for the city of La Mirada, and I would like to thank the commission for keeping the gateway cities together and all the maps for District 4 where we reside. Today, I would like to give my support for the revised map B3. I'm in support of this one, and I know our mayor is also in support of this map B3. As gateway cities, we are much more closely aligned with our neighbors from Whittier to the north, all the way down to Long Beach, San Pedro in the south. These cities are considered communities of interest. The gateway cities should be kept together as we all have relationships and have a lot of issues that we take together, such as business organizations in all these cities work together to lobby MTA for projects like the West Santa Ana branch, working on regional projects to address homelessness and support each other and serving our mutual constituents. So again, please support map B3, and I want to thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Carl Torosian, then Nathan Carvajal. Carl, you will have 1 minute.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, Commissioners, and thank you for your service to the county. It would be great for you guys to try to unify the San Fernando Valley, Burbank, and Glendale into one district. The hub has many options that do that, and recent additions that modify your maps that are able to do that. Please pay attention to those. Map 91 caught my attention. It creates 2 Latino, 53% CVAP districts, coalition district with 27+% Black CVAP, San Fernando Valley in 1 district, Pomona, Northeast LA, and SD1 remaining. So please look at map 91. I'd also like to say on Pearl Harbor Day, please remember our veterans and also the Japanese Americans who our country disenfranchised and did an injustice to. This is our opportunity with map 78 to create, especially during this year of Asian hate, to create an API community map that allows for the API community not to be lumped in with other ethnic communities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Nathan Carvajal, then Michael Lawson. Nathan, you'll be able to unmute yourself. You will have 1 minute.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Nathan Carvajal, and I'm a resident of Long Beach and currently work with talented District 1 high schoolers. I take a lot of pride in both living and working in such diverse communities that should be properly represented in the current redistricting conversations, which is why I'm advocating for Map F with the modifications found in Map 81. Growing up in Long Beach, I went to school, played sports, and went to church with Latinx, Black, and Asian American community members. Coming of age with such beautiful cultures made me value the voices that these communities brought to the table. The same voices which maps G and B minimize and which the Commission should reject. I would love to see a map that allows the voices of South Central, East LA, and Long Beach to be equally valued. Therefore, I'm asking you all as Commissioners to move forward with Map F with modifications found in Map 81. Good night and thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Michael Lawson, then Irvin Lebovics. Michael, you'll be able to unmute yourself. You will have 1 minute.
Thank you. I'm Michael Lawson, president of the Los Angeles Urban League. I want to commend commissioners on what you've done. I want to urge the commission to adopt map F2, base map 81. You've heard all the comments, and I would just reiterate what has been said. The comments have been very eloquent and very well done. So I don't want to spend too much time saying the same thing over and over again. I say this, that I would hope that we would start about the shared interests and shared experiences of these communities as opposed to simply the race of these communities. We need to get past that and move on to what we really need to be focused on is the individual are brought here to serve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I do want to note that we are still getting hands raised after the deadline, as well as some in the Q&A. So I just do want to remind members of the public that it was already set that we will only take public comments for those who signed up prior to the 8 p.m. deadline. Next, we have Irving Lebovics, then Devonna Watson. Irving, you will have 1 minute.
Yes, hello. I hope you can hear me. My name is Dr. Irving Lebovics, and I represent Agudath Israel of California, Jewish advocacy group. Among the many accomplishments our group has is deep involvement in the LA city and state redistricting efforts. The Jewish community is an ultimate community of interest. We live in a tight-knit community surrounded and within walking distance of our synagogues and schools, have unique concerns around security, anti-Semitism, and other such issues. We're very recognizable by dress and tend to be on the street, especially on Sabbath and Jewish holidays. We will never be a majority in any area, but having a significant voice and being together is important. We have looked at both maps G and F, G1 and F2, and both of them are positive. I've submitted written comment in terms of specific modifications to help our community, and I hope you will try to do something to keep us together. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Devonna Watson, then Judy St. John. Devonna, you will be able to unmute yourself. You will have 1 minute.
Hey, good evening, commissioners. My name is Davana, and I am a proud resident and stakeholder of South Central LA and a proud community leader. My community has suffered years of underinvestment and poverty, so I am greatly concerned about the possibilities of map B3 and G1 and urge you all to please vote no on these maps. As it places the already limited Black vote at a disadvantage, these maps don't take into account the historical work our communities have been putting in place to protect the Black vote. It also packs Black residents of South LA and Latinx community members of Southeast LA in one district. And we've worked too hard, fought too long, and organized too profoundly to not have our voices heard. I want to uplift map F2 as it is the best map currently, and with modifications such as removing West Hollywood and Hollywood, it would make great progress.
Thank you. Okay, next was Judy St. John, but it looks like Judy may have just logged off. So we're gonna just go ahead and move on to Roselva Lomeli, then Michelle Aranda Cos. Roselva, you'll be able to unmute yourself and you will have, oh, it seems that Roselva has also, oh, I'm sorry. So Judy, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong list. So Judy, you are next, and then Roselva Lomeli. Judy, you will have 1 minute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. So I'm calling about map B3. I want to ask for a modification. There are parts of two different cities that are a community of interest, and that is in the area surrounding Fairplex. Fairplex is almost 500 acres. Laverne lies immediately to the north, and Pomona lies to the south and east. And it's all residential that I'm talking about. And we need to have the same supervisor to represent us so that our voices can be heard, that we can together tell the supervisor what our concerns are over what happens at this huge complex. Please include Fairplex in B3. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Roselva Lomeli, then Michelle Aranda Cos. Roselva, you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening. My name is Roselva Lomeli. As a longtime resident of Whittier and currently board president of Rio Hondo Community College, I thank you, the commission, for keeping the gateway cities together in all the maps for District 4. I am here to support revised B3. As gateway cities, we are much more closely aligned with our neighborhoods from Whittier in the north to Long Beach and San Pedro in the south. So I thank you once again for the work that you have done. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Roselva. Next, we have Michelle Aranda Cos, then Alberto Retana. Michelle, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, commissioners. My name is Michelle Arandacos, and I work with high school students, and I'm a resident of Supervisory District 1. I'm here to express my support for map F2 as the best base map. However, I asked the commission to consider map 81, which makes modification to map F. Map 81 ensures Latinx representation continues to be strong in the Supervisory District 1 while ensuring Black political representation and voices are not diluted. Additionally, I urge the commission to remove West Hollywood and Hollywood from SD1 and map F2 and instead connect them with similar communities of SD3. I would also like to express my opposition to maps B3 and G1. These maps completely disregard the historical work communities have done in order to preserve the Black vote and representation in District 2. To contrast, District 1 is predominantly a Latinx, low-income immigrant community that rely heavily on social services by providers with long histories in Supervisory District 1. I urge the commission to take into consideration the community's recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Alberto Retana, then Jelani Hendricks. Alberto, you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you have 1 minute.
Hi, I'm calling. Thank you, commissioners, for all of your work.
I'm calling on you to act towards justice and to act with selfless courage. Act not in the interests that cement antiquated power relations of the past, but rather act in the interest to expand power to those who will wield it to advance justice in our city. Embracing F2 with modifications as put forth by the People's Bloc does just that by creating 2 majority Latino districts and sustaining 1 Black coalition district. Dump B3 immediately. It's an appalling hurting of communities of color with the ZVAP of 78% in District 2 inviting a lawsuit. Dump G1 for all the reasons you've heard. I ask you to ask yourself, what is the future of my county? Who are we positioning to govern? Who are we positioning first? Selfless courage. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jelani Hendricks and Denise Nunez. Jelani, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself. You will have 1 minute.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jelani Hendricks. I am a resident of Inglewood, and I've lived in SD2 for the last 8 years. I'm calling today to oppose map B2 and map G1, as these maps would dilute the voices of the Black community. I am in support of map F2 and the modifications proposed by the People's Bloc. Map G is harmful to my community. Personally, I think South LA and coastal communities have very different issues and priorities. And if paired together, I believe the Black voice would be lost. Being paired with communities with opposite interests will lead to much harm. Also, we have to keep Carson in SD2. There was a young lady earlier who mentioned that 21,000 Black folks will no longer be in SD2 if we take Carson out. And we need to keep Dominguez Hills in SD2. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Denise Nunez, then Ira Yoon. Denise, you'll be able to unmute yourself. You will have 1 minute.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Denise Nunez. I live in South Central LA. I've been living here since 2015. I was displaced from Northeast LA. And just to talk about a little bit, I think everybody has kind of voiced out their opinions, and I'm here into support of the map of F2 with the modifications of map 81. And why I agree upon this is because I feel like the other maps are diluting the voices of the Black community. And as somebody who has lived in Northeast LA, which is predominantly Latinx folks, I've noticed that in my beautiful community, it had overtaken some of the community voices that were predominantly Black folks. And I noticed the lack of representation really affected my Black colleagues. So I feel like it's really important to support representation and to have an equitable maps that support not just the Black community, but LAPI and Latinx.
Thank you. Next, we have Ira Yoon and then Erica Jimenez. Ira, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Ira Yoon, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Korean American Coalition Los Angeles, a nonprofit organization advocating for the civic and civil rights of the Korean American community since 1983. We are a member of the Koreatown Redistricting Task Force, as well as a member of APCON, which is part of the People's Bloc. We're in support of MAP F2 with amendments as modified by the People's Bloc as MAP 81 and oppose all other maps. We asked the Commission to amend MAP F2 with MAP 81 because it keeps Koreatown whole in SD2, maintains strong Latinx and Black CVAP, as well as keeps Little Tokyo, Chinatown, Hi-Fi, and Thai Town all whole in SD1. Today, the LA City Council unanimously voted on the map that approves Koreatown being unified, and would like the same for the county map. Please honor the census data, heed our testimonies, and protect our community's interests by keeping Koreatown whole. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ira. Next, we have Erica Jimenez and then Suzanne Cumming. Erica, you will have 1 minute. Erica, whenever you are ready, please unmute. Erica, if you can hear me.
I gave my public comment through the phone.
Okay.
I put it in the Q&A.
Great, thank
I
you.
gave it away.
Okay, next we have Suzanne Cumming and then Oscar Alvarez. Suzanne, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself. You will have 1 minute.
Oh, my name is Suzanne Cumming. I live in the 4th District in Marina Del Rey. Thanks for all your work. I'd really like you to go back to map B2 to keep all the communities of interest together. Please do whatever it takes to include Playa del Rey, Marina Del Rey, and Bayona wetlands in District 4 with Janice Hahn. They are a part of the same ecosystem. There are interests who would like to split them up, perhaps those who support the dangerous methane gas storage facility underneath the Bayona wetlands. Janice Hahn has led the effort to successfully send a letter to the governor to close the storage facility down. She has served this community, the coastal communities, for 25 years and understands them. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Oscar Alvarez, then Marisol Rosales. Oscar, momentarily, you'll be able to unmute yourself, and once you begin speaking, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Oscar Alvarez, and I have been a resident of the unincorporated neighborhood of Westmont for over 25 years. Tonight, I'm calling to strongly oppose Map G and Map B. Last week, the commission questioned residents from South LA asking for data that shows how the Black community is going to be impacted by being paired with affluent coastal communities. And one, I think there's no data that is more important than the lived experience that we have been sharing about for the last couple of weeks. However, I do want to highlight that many communities currently in District 2 have very high percentages of residents living 200% below the federal poverty level. This includes 47% of Hoffman residents, 48% of K-Town residents, 55% of Compton residents, and 74% of Watts residents living 200% below the federal poverty level. And you're trying to pair these historically low income and economically neglected communities with neighborhoods with drastically lower number of residents living 200% below the same poverty level. For example, 9% in Palos Verdes, 3.5.
Time is up. Okay, next we have Marisol Rosales, then Keely Ortega. Marisol, momentarily you'll be able to unmute yourself. You will have 1 minute. Marisol, if you are there, please unmute yourself. Marisol Rosales, if you are there, please unmute yourself. Okay, moving on. Moving on is Keely Ortega and then Pastor Eddie Anderson. Keely, you will have 1 minute. Okay, it seems that Keely Ortega is using an older version of Zoom and can only be promoted to panelists to talk. Is that okay, co-chairs?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Keely, whenever you're ready.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Keely Ortega. I am a high school student attending Roosevelt High School in Boyle Heights, which is part of a supervisional in District 1. I am here today advocating for map F2 with modification of map 81. Reason being is because we need to continue keeping our community of interest together. What makes our community of Boyle Heights unique is that the people from my neighborhood are working class, speaking and predominantly Latinos Mexican, which we relate to communities like East Los Angeles, El Sereno, Lincoln Heights, and Montebello. It is important we continue to keep communities of interest together, and which is why I advocate to map 81. I am not in favor of map B3 and G1 because it does the opposite, impacts the Latinx community in Southeast LA when we should be having equitable representation of the Latinx community and Black community in Los Angeles County. Look at the modifications that map 81 has done to ensure representation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Pastor Eddie Anderson, and then I believe Marisol Rosales is back. So we will go to Marisol Morales after that. Okay, Pastor Eddie Anderson, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, beloved. My name is Reverend Eddie Anderson. I'm the senior pastor of McCarty Church in South Los Angeles. It's been for 90 years. I served as a commissioner for the LA City, and I serve as the board chair for Claremont School of Theology, as well as LA Voice. I applaud you all. You're an independent commission, something that we did not have in LA City. But I will tell you that you've been picked with such a time as this to uplift equity. And when I look at the maps, B3, it looks like you're packing. And so equity is not upheld. G1 puts us with coastal cities, so equity is not upheld. F2 is the best base map because it says that everyone has an opportunity to pick a representative that knows intimately their problems and their decisions. The VRA protects Blacks and Latinos. We do not need to pin them against one another. We should uplift them so that we can have a coalition of LA where all angels can truly fly. Please support F2.
Thank you. So next we have Marisol Rosales and then Francine Rios. Marisol, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is Marisol Rosales and I'm a resident of South Central LA. I am also a member of Community Coalition, and I am calling today to oppose map B3 and map G1 as these maps dilute the voices of historic communities of interest and support map F2 with modifications found in map 81. I urge the commission to oppose map B3 because this map only creates 2 districts where communities of color would be able to elect a candidate of their choice, while map F allows for the creation of 3 districts where communities of color can have more representation. Concerning given the demographics of LA County, where minority communities make up the majority of the population. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Francine Rios and then Patricia McPherson. Francine, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Francine Rios and I work with Community Coalition. I'm calling to oppose map B3 and G1 and to support map F2 with the modifications found in map 81. Working in the community, I've been able to see firsthand the vibrancy of South LA. It's home to the largest Black community in LA, and it holds significant Black history and culture. It's also been devastated by COVID on top of experiencing pre-pandemic conditions that were deeply disparate compared to the rest of LA. With all of this in mind, map F2 is the best option for this community. Keeping South LA whole and in a district with neighborhoods with similar interests will allow the Black community to elect a candidate of their choice. And South LA does not have the same priorities as coastal communities, especially as we rebuild from this pandemic in the coming years. Please do not contribute to the erasure of Black LA, and I urge you to adopt map F2. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Francine. Next, we have Patricia McPherson and then Kathy Knight. Patricia, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, good evening, commissioners. My name is Patricia McPherson. I am a president of an environmental organization, and I am here to advocate for the reconsideration and maintenance of B2 for District 4. I'm from Mar Vista area, but the coastal area is unique in its common interests of the environmental aspects there with the wetlands that are there, with the underground gas storage operations that are there, with the oil and gas issues that are there, that through the past 30 years, we have been working with the same district supervisors to work on these issues. So there is a long history of community groups banding together, learning about these issues and working on them together. So I ask you to keep it within District 4, please. On
Thank
B2.
you. Thank you. Next, we have Kathy Knight and Jeannie Choi. Kathy, you will have 1 minute.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Kathy Knight, and I'm with the Biona Ecosystem Education Project. And we've been volunteering now for about 30 years to save the Biona wetlands along the coast. And also, we've been working with the supervisor there, you know, for thinking about the coastline together there and the important wildlife areas there and issues there. And it really works out well. It works out well to have one person to talk to about these different issues. And so we support, we would like to see map B2 for approval. That has worked out very, very, very well. And we would like to see that continue. If you're gonna go with the 3 maps you have, we prefer map G2 because Biona Wetlands and Marina Del Rey, which are communities of common interest with biodiversity, would be there together, be considered together. So that's
Thank
what we
you.
would like. Thank you.
Next, we have Jeannie Choi and then Hugh Gregory. Jeannie, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Jeannie Choi, and I'm an employee at a nonprofit organization located in Koreatown. I have lived in LA County for over 20 years now. I'm calling in support of MAP F2 with suggested modifications as seen in OP 81 submitted by People's Bloc. We asked the Commission to amend MAP F2 by keeping Koreatown whole in SD2, maintaining strong Latinx and Black CVAP, as well as keeping Little Tokyo, Chinatown, Hi-Fi, and Thai-Town all whole in SD1, keeping East St. Gabriel Valley together in SD4, and keeping West San Gabriel Valley together in SD1. The COI of Koreatown needs to be kept whole. This morning, at the city level, the city council unanimously voted on adopting the hybrid redistricting map that unifies Koreatown into a single city council district. And we would like to urge the commission to protect our community of interest by unifying Koreatown into a single district at the county level as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Hugh Gregory and then Patricia Strong Fargas. Hugh, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. And I very much appreciate the hard work you are doing on this extraordinarily difficult task. I've lived in 1, 3, and 5 at different times. I would like to speak in favor of keeping the San Fernando Valley in a whole district. This is a recognizable community of 2 million people. That's enough for a supervisorial district. The valley is as diverse as the entire county. It is like a microcosm of the whole county. And without a member without a dedicated district, there's the possibility these 2 million people could have no seat on the Board of Supervisors. And that would be a dreadful shame. I heard a caller speak about this map 91 I just looked at. That's interesting to me. I see 2 Latino opportunity districts on that map. I see the strongest possibility for African-American representation in a district, in a coalition. And I also see the possibility of a possible Asian American opportunity district in that one. Please look at these and consider keeping the San Fernando Valley in one district.
Okay, next we have Patricia Strong Fargas and then Shayla Oliva. Patricia, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, I'm Patricia Strong Fargas. I'm a pastor in SPAR 2. I'm in SPAR 2. Sorry, that's my granddaughter in the back. And I opposed B3 and G1 map. I'm an advocate for F2 with the modification of map 81. We need to keep South LA whole and a district with other neighborhoods that have similar characteristics and shared interest. And as being a pastor, I walk outside my door, I visit my community, I visit my neighbors, I learn what they want and what they need in the community. And I think that and I consider that you look at F2 with the modification of 81 to make sure our voices are continued to be heard, our requests resolved, and our representation to be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Shayla Aliba and then Senator Sidney Kamlager. Shayla, you have 1 minute. Okay, so Shayla will need to be promoted to panelist as well.
Go ahead, Ty.
Okay, Shayla, whenever you're ready. Okay,
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Shayla Oliva, and I am a youth organizer of Supervisional District 1 in El Monte. I am a high school student currently attending El Monte High School. I wanted to state that map F2 is the best map currently being proposed, and I would like for the commissioners to also consider looking at map 81. It's important that we have a Latinx representation in Supervisional District 1. We need to ensure that communities of interest stay together as a whole, like South LA, which is under attack by map B3 and G1. Maps B3 and G1 don't take into account the historical work of community power. We need to protect the Black votes and the Black community in District 2. I urge you commissioners to take a look at map 81 and to take into account that map F2 is the best map being represented so far.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Senator Sidney Kamlager and then Karen Iris. Senator, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. My name is Sidney Kamlager. I am Senator for the 30th Senate District and a resident of SD2. I oppose maps G1 and B1 and urge the commission to adopt F2 with modifications in map 81, which maintains the Black influence district with 30% CVAP and supports our Latino communities. Redistricting works when it connects communities that are synergistic, rely on similar resources and assets, and share commonalities in terms of need, which is critical for our county as the county is the entity that delivers social and safety net services. Senate District 2 is made up of many cities like Leimert Park, Inglewood, View Park, Baldwin Hills, South LA, Carson, and so many others that historically have been a place of residence for our Black community. This is the district that is the last place in the county where this majority ride. The most underserved and impacted communities need to have a strong, unified political voice as we recover in an equitable and dignified way. Thank you.
Next, we have Karen Iris, then Mariana Villafana. Karen, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, thank you. Oh, great. I get to follow the senator. I'm calling in. I'm a resident of West Hollywood. I work in West Hollywood, and I believe maps B3 and G1 do a great job of combining historic communities of interest. They're the ones that make the most sense to me. If you are leaning toward map F, then I think F1 is the better option. I'm concerned about F2, that my city of West Hollywood is disconnected from District 3, and East LA does not identify West Hollywood as a community of interest. West Hollywood is a part of the West Side Cities Council of Governments, which exists in District 3. So I would like to see F2 be reunited with West Hollywood in District 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mariana Villafana, then Georgia Goldfarb. Mariana, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you. Can you hear me, commissioners?
Yes.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Mariana Villafana, and I'm a longtime resident of LA County. I'm a proud resident of South LA, where I've called home for 13 years. Before moving to South LA, my family and I were displaced from Westchester in 2008. I would like to express my opposition to maps B3 and G1, as these maps dilute the voices of Black, Latinx, AAPI, and Indigenous communities and their political power. Having lived and gone to schools in West LA, I know firsthand that by pairing South LA with coastal communities into the same district is a mistake and will promote Black erasure and has the potential of losing a historical Black supervisorial seat. I'm also calling to urge this commission to support map F2 as the best base map with the modifications found in map 81. I think that the most underserved communities in this county should have a strong political voice with the ability to elect representatives that will address the root causes of issues they face in an equitable and culturally relevant way. Thank you for your time and good day.
Thank you. Next, we have Georgia Goldfarb, then Beth Holden Garland. Georgia, you have 1 minute. Georgia, if you can hear me, you will need to unmute. Georgia, if you can hear me, you will need to unmute. Okay. Please, Georgia is not at the computer, so we will move on. Next, we have Beth Holden Garland and then Ruby Rivera. Beth, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, commissioners. Thank you for hanging in there with us all tonight. So I've lived in Marina del Rey for nearly 30 years, and I've seen, over these years, how much Marina, Bayona, and Playa del Rey are all interconnected, especially with migratory birds and species that fly between the canal, feed from the Bayona Canal to go back to the Bayona wetlands. And issues like development and tsunami zone and earthquake issues and traffic as well as crime are all interconnected between Marina del Rey and Playa. And I hope you will support B2, map B2, because it's very important to keep that whole community connected as well as the environment that it supports. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Ruby Rivera and then Hampig Sassoon. Ruby, you have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Ruby Rivera. I am a lifelong resident of Linwood and have served the East LA community for over 10 years. I believe that using map F2 as a base and including the modifications outlined in map 81 will create a map that takes into account communities of interest who have been historically disenfranchised. The Voting Rights Act was passed to protect people of color in this country from disenfranchisement. Map B3 and G1 go against the VRA. B3 by packing Black and Latinx communities in SD2 and creating 3 majority white districts, and G1 dilutes the voice of the Black community. I have also heard stated in many ways how race shouldn't play a role in this decision, but the purpose of the VRA is to protect communities of color from disenfranchisement. As the Department of Justice reminds us with its recent lawsuit against the state of Texas, it is illegal to draw lines that are unfair to racial and ethnic minorities. Map 81's modifications maintain SD2's Black CVAP at over 30% and creates 2 Latinx seats. So again, yes on map 81, no on maps B3 and G1. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Hampig Sassoon and then Eric Nakano. Hampig, you will have 1 minute. Hampig Sassoon, if you are there, you will need to unmute. Hampig Sassoon, if you are there, you will need to unmute. Okay. Believe they are not at the computer, so we will move on. Next, we have Eric Nakano and then Kenneth Brooks. Eric, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for all your work, commissioners, on this very complex matter. My name is Eric Nakano. I'm Executive Director of the Little Tokyo Service Center. Little Tokyo is a 130-plus-year-old historic cultural neighborhood, one of 3 remaining Japantowns in the United States, and the second oldest neighborhood in LA. It is both an important cultural center for the broader Japanese American community and a home to a multi-ethnic population of low-income residents, seniors, and longtime small businesses. We also work closely with and stand in solidarity with other Asian and Pacific Islander communities, as well as Black and Latinx communities with whom we share common issues and aspirations. Based on this, we oppose maps B3 and G1. We support map F2, but with modifications. We want Little Tokyo, Chinatown, historic Filipino town, and Thai town whole and together in SD1. And we want to see strong Latinx and Black voter representation to enable communities of color to have their choice in 3 districts. Thank you.
Next, we have Kenneth Brooks and then Kaneen Pruder. Kenneth, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you. My name is Ken. I'm calling as a longtime resident of South LA in support of my community members with map F2 with modifications found in map 81. Being a resident for over 35 years, actually well, about 40, I've seen a lot of differences and a lot of changes, and that has affected the Black community. And other maps that's offered or that we could choose from, I feel like this is the best choice. Ripple effects was mentioned at the early part of this call. I would urge you all to consider the decades of ripple effects that this community has endured. And since we are talking about the future, I would hope that you all make a decision where you're on the right side of the ripple effects this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Kaneen Pruder and then Fernando Vasquez. Kaneen, you have 1 minute.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. My name is Kanan Pruder. I'm a resident of Supervisor District 3 and the city of West Hollywood. I'm opposed to maps B3 and G1 and in support of map F2 with modifications coming from map 81, specifically because I think the city of West Hollywood should remain in Supervisor District 3. And quite frankly, keeping communities of interest together is the most important thing right now. And I think these 3 maps proposed are not great, but the updated version of map 81 would definitely be something that should be considered going forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Fernando Vasquez and then Herman Salazar. Fernando, you will have 1 minute. Fernando, you will need to unmute yourself. Fernando Vasquez, if you can hear me, you will need to unmute yourself. Fernando Vasquez. Okay. I believe they are not at the computer, so we will move on. Next, we have Herman Salazar and then Chelsea. Herman, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for your hard work. I am a resident of the city of Whittier, which is in District 4, and I am in favor of the new map B3. As a city resident of Whittier, I would like to thank the commissions for keeping the gateway cities together in all maps for District 4. I would like to support that revised B3 map. The gateway cities, as we know, is the Santa Fe Springs, Norwalk, Whittier, Downey, Paramount, Lakewood, Signal Hill, Long Beach, Cerritos, Lakewood, and several other cities. Excuse me, the gateway cities should all be kept together. The businesses and organizations in all these cities have been working together to lobby the MTA for the projects like the West Santa Ana branch, working on regional projects to address homelessness and supporting each other and serving our mutual communities. As gateway cities, we are much more closely aligned with our neighbors, as I mentioned with the previous city. So again, I am in favor of the revised map B3. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Chelsea and then Jacqueline Villarreal. Chelsea, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, good evening. My name is Chelsea Byers. I'm a West Hollywood resident, and I'm grateful for the time to speak with you all tonight. Map F2 or 81 is a good map for all the reasons mentioned tonight. I just see one exception to that, and that's West Hollywood. I believe that West Hollywood should remain a part of District 3. If our goal is to best align communities of interest, West Hollywood would be with District 3. East LA does not identify West Hollywood as a community of interest. So I suggest map F2, but with the modification to West Hollywood. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Next, we have Jacqueline Villarreal and then Ishmael Castro. Jacqueline, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Villarreal, and I'm from Cypress Park, a community in the Northeast Los Angeles area. My sister and I attend Lincoln High School. Most families from my community come from the Latinx backgrounds and low income. I value equal representation and disadvantaged families receiving resources they need to be successful, like in terms like equity. My community and neighboring communities have fought for equity. The East LA walkouts, protests, and support of the Black Lives Matter movement, and joining the LUSD teachers and strikes, and their efforts to improve working conditions and receive equitable pay. So I support MAP F2, which allows Black and Latinx voices from East and South Los Angeles to be represented, and the modifications of MAP 81. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ishmael Castro and then April Aguilera. Ishmael, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, can you hear me?
It's very low.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ismael Castro, and I'm a stakeholder in Supervisorial District 1. Please make sure that the maps that move forward maintain communities of interest together and take into account how the distributions impact Black and Brown voting power in LA County. I am in support of MAP F2 with modifications submitted in MAP 81 and strongly oppose MAP B3. Thank you for listening to our voices. I hope you really do take into consideration the Black and Brown voices that are on these calls night after night after long hours of work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have April Aguilera and then Henry Perez. April, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is April Aguilera, and I'm a junior at Lincoln High School. I've lived in the East Side my entire life. I am a part of a community where we stick together to fight for representation, and today you must vote for MAP F so that all communities and cultures are well represented. Historically, District 1 has a shared culture and history of coming together to advocate for the needs of our community, like the Chicano movement or more recently, COVID protection. MAP F adds more Latinx representation in District 4, but it's not perfect. That is why I want you to consider the modifications in MAP 81. Maps G and B dilute the representation of the Black and Asian voting population to where they're packed and can't articulate their demands. To guarantee that all groups of interest are seen and heard, the map that best reflects us and must continue to advance is MAP F with modifications found in MAP 81. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Henry Perez and then Adina. Henry, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Henry Perez, and I'm a resident of Supervisorial District 1. I want to express support for MAP F2, which I feel can be the most equitable map with necessary modifications. I ask that you look at MAP 81, which makes modifications to MAP F in order to take into consideration the representation of historically disenfranchised communities of interest. Specifically, I urge the Commission to look at increasing the Latinx CVAP of Supervisorial District 1. This is a historic Latinx district made up of historic Latinx communities. It is important for the county to maintain the strong Latinx CVAP in SD1 to give the district the opportunity to continue being a district representative of the 49% Latinx population of LA County. I also want to express my opposition to maps B3 and G1. I'm concerned how these maps dilute the African American CVAP in SD2 taking away their opportunity for representation in the district made up of historical Black communities. Support map F2.
Thank you. Next, we have Adina and then Angelica Sanchez. Adina, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you for all of your hard work to ensure an equitable and inclusive map for LA County. As a Jewish community activist, I joined with the AAPI and Black and Brown communities in urging this commission to create a map that raises up disenfranchised communities. We also urge the commission to consider the Jewish community as a community of interest in this process. While the Jewish population resides in many parts of the county, the bulk of our community has always been in the 3rd district. We ask the commission to support a map that will keep much of our community together, from Los Feliz, Hancock Park to Westwood, and large portions of the San Fernando Valley. F2 comes very close to accomplishing this, potentially by removing Torrance and adding in Pico Robertson, Hancock Park, and Westwood. You would be able to keep our community mostly whole and help us, as being we are less than 0.2% of the entire world population, and we appreciate being considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'm sorry, Commissioner Franklin, you have your hand up?
Yes, thank you. A clarifying question, please. You mentioned the Jewish community and keeping the Jewish community together. Can you once again state the parameters or the cities, the areas that you're referring to?
Sure. Am I still live?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. It's hard on the phone. So the communities are Hancock Park, Westwood, Pico Robertson and South Robertson Boulevard, Hancock Park, Westwood, Brentwood, Tarzana, Encino, Studio City. Those are kind of the bulk of them. Portions of West Hollywood as well. And I'm happy to submit public comment as well if that would be helpful. I
That
will.
would be extremely helpful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we have Angelica Sanchez and then Jesse Maeshiro. Angelica, you have 1 minute.
Hi, my name is Angelica Sanchez, and I'm, from Community Coalition. I reside in South LA, and I'm actually, here for F2. Pretty much, I support the map F2 with modifications found in map 81. As a matter of fact, South LA has historical been a place of residence for the Black community, Black and Brown actually. So with that being said, I urge the commission to adopt this map so that the most undeserved communities can have a strong political voice as we recover in an equitable and dignified way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Jesse Maeshiro and then Fabiola Argueta. Jesse, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Jesse Maeshiro. I work in South LA at Community Coalition. I'm calling tonight to oppose map B3 and map G1 and to support map F2 with modifications found on map 81. A lot of folks tonight are lifting how it doesn't make sense to pair South LA with the coastal communities. Anyone who is familiar with both areas knows this is the case. Each region has completely different income levels, neighborhood conditions, issues facing the community, experiences with COVID, and more. Map 81 keeps the API communities whole. In the Metro API communities whole, unites the API communities in the East San Gabriel Valley, keeps the primarily Latinx East Side communities whole, and maintains a Black influence district. This map does not dilute the political power of Black and Brown residents, and I believe it benefits the most people. While there may not be a map that perfectly pairs regions together, each map will either support or cause harm to communities of color and will
Thank you, Jesse.
LA for the next 10 years.
Thank you. Next, we have Fabiola Argueta and then Jackie Contreras. Fabiola, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Fabiola Argueta, and I'm a resident of Supervisorio District 1 in unincorporated East Los Angeles. I believe that map F2 is the best base map currently, with the consideration of some modifications that takes into account communities of interest. Please consider looking at map 81, which makes some modifications of map F2 and does take communities of interest into consideration. We need to ensure that Latina voices in the community are heard and not diminished. We're reminding you that we are communities of interest because we are predominantly Latina, immigrant, and low-income working class families. I would also like to express my opposition to maps B3 and G1. These maps also pack the Black community of South LA and the Latina community in Southeast LA all into SD2. These maps are not progressive and do not take into account the historical work that community members have put into protecting the Black vote and representation in District 2. I urge you commissioners to ensure that we move forward with maps and maintain communities of interest and the history of work that residents have put into their community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jackie Contreras and then Christina. Jackie, you will have 1 minute.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Jackie with People's Bloc. I want to uplift the difficult decision that this commission is making this cycle and highlight their efforts. I also want to point out, however, that the same argument that folks from the Valley are using, that they have nothing in common with coastal communities and that it would be an odd fit, is the same argument that we continue to make, that South LA and coastal communities have nothing in common and does not make sense in terms of pairing. And we have data points to support that, such as pollution burden, rent burden, college attainment, mortgage loans, etc. To support this, as well as communities' voices I've used heavily heard, we heavily oppose map B3 because of the packing of communities of color. We want to have at least 53% Latinx CVAP and D1 and 30% CVAP and D2, as well as economic assets such as LAX and UCLA. When making decisions on which maps to move forward with, please take into account which communities will benefit the most. Will it be our communities that have been historically disenfranchised and who consistently share the short end of the stick, or other communities who have been in a place of privilege? Please use map 81 as a guide on how best to protect our Black, Latinx, and API communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Christina and then Donald Robinson. Christina, you will have 1 minute.
Hi, thank you. I would urge you all to please keep map B as in Black 2, which keeps all the coastal marinas, Long Beach, San Pedro, Redondo, Marina del Rey, all together. And this is important, and I will tell you why. I've been a lifetime supporter of, human rights and working in public interest law to help those who are, communities of color, low income, and hard to reach communities. Now, protecting the vulnerable citizens is the most important thing in my lifetime, what I would like to accomplish. But I think we need to realize at the same time, it is also important to protect our biodiversity, wildlife, endangered species, nature, and designated ecological reserves that are in these marina locations, such as the Biona wetlands. So please keep map B2. Thank you.
You. Next, we have Donald Robinson and then Lee Collar. Donald, you have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Donald Robinson. I've been a resident of Los Angeles, South Central Los Angeles for 55 years. Myself and my children have attended the public school district, LA Public School District, and our lives, our work and all is in Los Angeles. And I called tonight to oppose G3 and B3 and G2. And I also support with suggested adopted modifications of map F1 that the People Bloc submitted OP map 81 and add the LAX airport to SD2 because it maintains Black influence. South LA has historically been a place of residence for the Black community, and the community has experienced
Time is up. Thank you. Next, we have Lee Collar and then Peter Ng. Lee, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you, commissioners. I really appreciate the efforts you put into this and recognize that this is a difficult job with a city with a county of 10 million residents and only 5 supervisory districts. As a resident of Redondo Beach, I strongly support map B3 and am strongly opposed to map F2 and also opposed but not as much to map G1. Separating or putting South Bay and San Fernando Valley into the same district makes no sense. We really have nothing in common. Our interests are different. Our issues are different. While if you combine the South Bay with the peninsula in Long Beach with the common harbors, recognizing that not only do we have the ports of LA and Long Beach, we also have recreational harbors in both of those places. Putting all those in the same districts gives a single supervisor the chance to actually understand those issues. While I would like to see Marina Del Rey in the same district, I recognize
Thank you, Lee.
everything. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Peter Ng and then Joanna Diaz. Peter, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thank you for giving me the chance. I'm a longtime resident of the Monterey Park, and I'm also the CEO of Chinatown Service Center, a 50-year-old organization representing the greater Los Angeles Chinese American population. I am strongly advocate to support map F2 with the modification of map 481 because it keeps many ethnic groups in whole, and also as well as giving the chance of the Black community and also Latino community to have their chance of doing that. I really appreciate the work that you have done all this night and evening. I know that everyone have an opinion, but I really strong I would like you to consider the map F2 to be the map of choice for the next 10 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Joanna Diaz and then Joanne Russell. Joanna, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Joanna Diaz in D4. I'm a lifelong resident of Whittier and community member of Long Beach. I'm here representing Long Beach Forward in support of map F2 and the People's Block suggested modifications in map 81. I'm in support of map F2 with modifications from map 81 because it not only keeps Long Beach together and also keeps Whittier together, it also represents months of collaborative work across district lines. I'm here as part of a collective that is genuinely striving for a map that reflects the greater good for our diverse communities and their unique needs. I'm opposed to map B3 and map G1. Not only do these maps dilute the voices of historic communities of interest, they do exactly what this process and commission are meant to prevent, the continued disempowerment of communities of color, in particular the Black community. I understand that this is an intricate process, but I urge you to pay attention to those here representing entire communities that don't have access to this process due to a variety of obstacles. I ask you to embrace your duty as a commissioner and help empower the voices of those who have been historically disenfranchised. Please support F2, map 81 modifications.
Thank you. Thank you, Joanna. Next, we have Joanne Russell and then Anna Para. Joanne, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening. I'm Joanne Russell, and I'm a 55-year resident of LA County. And I am chiming in to support map F2 and with the modifications from map 81. We have talked a lot about giving power to different peoples, but we've overlooked the fact that a lot of communities for the last 10 years have been forging alliances, sharing resources, and really building communities. So you're not just shifting people out of different communities, you're dismantling the works that we've really done. You know, it is difficult to give us competing interests from wildlife to freeway pollution, and it sets this new supervisor up for failure also, because it's difficult to manage all these important items to help your constituents. So thank you, and thank you for your work too.
Thank you. Next, we have Anna Para and then Daniela Hernandez. Anna, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Anna Para, and I'm a stakeholder in Supervisorial District 1 for nearly 30 years. I want to state that map G has the best composition for SD1 and SD3, and I feel that map F has the best composition for SD2, which separates the beach cities from a predominantly African-American communities. And provides the best version of SD2 with the strongest representation for the African-American communities. I feel that map G has the best composition for SD1 and keeps the Latino communities that have historically been connected through politically, culturally, and immigrant shared experiences. I feel that if you combine these proposed districts on one map and figure out a way to readjust SD4 and 5, I think we might have the best compromise that gives the strongest representation for historically underserved communities of color. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Next, we have Daniela Hernandez and then Emma Dotson. Daniela, you have 1 minute.
Hello, my name is Daniela Hernandez and I am a resident in District 2. I am calling in support of map F2 with modifications as represented in map 81. For the past 9 years, I've worked with Eastside youth who have fought for a better education, affordable housing, access to quality healthcare, and so much more to improve their community. Map 81 ensures that historically disenfranchised communities of color, like the Eastside, have the proper representation to continue to advance justice. I also want to share my opposition to map B3 and G1. Please do not consider map B3, which dilutes the voices and power of Black residents across the county. Also, alarmingly, map G1 combines my community of South Central with more affluent areas like Manhattan Beach. The reality is that our communities live two different realities. We are working class immigrants and predominantly tenants who are not only recovering from the pandemic, but also from years of disinvestment. As Brown and Black residents in South LA, we need to have our interests represented in LA County, and that starts with the map that represents us like map 81.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. Next, we have Emma Dotson and then Stephanie Rogers. Emma, you will have 1 minute.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Emma Dodson. I'm a resident of Marina Del Rey and coordinator of the Trees of the Marina group. I urge you to return to map B2 for approval. Communities of interest will suffer if you choose either B3 or F2. G2 would keep Bayona Wetlands and Marina Del Rey together, which are communities of interest for some of the most important coastal biodiversity we have in LA County. Far preferable, however, would be to go back to map B2, which keeps all of the coastal marinas together and with the same supervisorial district that has been serving the people of this area for more than 25 years. Supervisor Hahn has made a priority of defending our non-human communities of interest, including the trees and birds. The great blue heron population here has plummeted 64% since 2009, primarily due to mismanagement. Due to the relationship our community leaders have forged with the 4th District's office, we were recently able to prevent beaches and harbors decimating our local trees during nesting season. I urge you to reconsider map B2, or else the hard-won progress made in protecting our birds and trees could be gravely.
Next, we have Stephanie Rogers and then Hampig Sassoon, who was having audio issues, is back. So Stephanie, you will have 1 minute. Stephanie, if you can hear me, please unmute.
My name is Stephanie Rogers. I'm with SCIU Local 2015, a union rep. And basically I am for the, I'm against the B and the G. And I would like to keep it the way it is. I'm getting a bad connection. Why is it doing that?
So Stephanie, we can still hear you.
Oh.
Stephanie, you just muted yourself. Hey, Stephanie, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me still?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so basically why I'm calling is because I'm opposed to the B2 and G. And I want to, I'm in support for F1. And the reason why is because the Black communities need to be represented by people of color. And
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie. Time
yes.
is up.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And thank you. So next we have Hampig Sassoon, and then Georgia Goldfarb is back having audio issues earlier. So Hampig, you will have 1 minute. Okay. Hampig, if you can hear me, please unmute. I'm also prompting you to unmute, so it should flash on your screen. Hampig, if you can hear me, please unmute. Okay, moving on. They may still have some audio issues. So moving on to Georgia Goldfarb and then John Mendoza. Georgia, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. 1 second here. So good evening, commissioners. Thank you for all your extraordinary time in this very difficult work. I'm Georgia Goldfarb and I live in the Santa Monica Mountains. I supported B2, but of the current choices, I support B3 because it provides the most contiguous land for wildlife habitat from the Santa Monica Mountains north to the rim of the valley. This will facilitate more consistent and uniform land use for animal and plant life in this important wildlife corridor, particularly with the National Recreation Area and the Liberty Canyon Wildlife Crossing. G1 would be acceptable secondarily. Please consider this as these maps are further refined. Thank you, and thanks for giving me another chance to speak.
Great. Thank you. Next, we have John Mendoza and then Sylvia Norman. John, you will have 1 minute.
My name is John Mendoza. I live in North Pomona above the 10 freeway. I like to see Pomona above the 10 freeway crafted into Supervisor 5 to end the gerrymandering Pomona out of Supervisor District 5 by compacting the white community. North Pomona into 5 gives Pomona a greater voice in North and South San Gabriel Valley. North Pomona share a lot of community interests with Laverne, Claremont, San Dimas with housing project, water projects, schools, and economic engine of Fairplex. All 4 cities would benefit if and issues involving the Fairplex if they were all in the same supervisor district. Bad mapping has created the public perception that white communities are still dominant and Black communities are declined by 5 million the Black vote in their communities and disenfranchising their vote with bad mapping. Bad mapping results in non-competitive elections and electing voters of choice, except during term limits. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Sylvia Norman and then Ernesto Serrano. Sylvia, you will have 1 minute. Sylvia, if you can hear me, please unmute.
Hello?
Yes. Sylvia?
Hello?
Sylvia, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes, Sylvia, can you hear us? We can hear you. Sylvia? Okay. Sylvia, I see you muting and unmuting yourself. Can you speak? Okay. So commissioners, let's move on and we can come back to Sylvia if needed.
I just want to mention we're at the 9:30 point. Co-chairs, I don't know if you want to take a 10-minute break and then come back.
I believe we have about 3 more.
If we have three more, I think we can go through these three.
Yeah, there are a couple where people have come back or they claim that they have their hands raised. I think we need to sort those out.
Yeah.
But we can proceed.
Okay. So next is Ernesto Serrano and then Tony Lewis. Ernesto, you will have 1 minute.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. My name is Ernie Serrano. I'm with the Community Coalition. I've been living in Los Angeles for about 10 months, although I lived in the LA, county district for, most of my life. And I could say that I'm in support of map F2, modifications with map 81, and in opposition to B3 and G1. And the reason being is that having been working for Community Coalition, I've been involved in a few campaigns where I'm directly involved with the population. And the population, you can tell, you can foresee that there's a lot of distrust and disparity. And with the incremental change that's been taking place, I think it'd be a disservice to everyone involved to bring about any change, because it's with the instability that's creating that distrust. In order to change that narrative, we have to maintain some level of stability and continue to bring the resources available to them in order for them to, for everyone to continue to take part in the process instead of, being comfortable with being disenfranchised.
Ernesto. Next, we have Tony Lewis and then Mayor Bill Brand. Tony, you will have 1 minute.
Good evening. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you for taking my call. First, I'd like to thank you for listening to our city. We set an outreach to commissioner for keeping our city whole, and this was completed in all the maps. We're in favor of map B2 as our favorite, and thank you again. Good night and Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Next, we have Mayor Bill Brand, and then we will try Sylvia Norman one more time. Mayor Bill Brand, you will have 1 minute.
Thank you, commissioners. As I've listened, remember there are 10 million people in LA County, and I would give priority to minimizing changes in order to keep communities of interest in the same districts. Map F2, while it's received a lot of support, it clearly screams gerrymandering. Why else would there be a very narrow band of land where no one lives, connecting the San Fernando Valley with coastal areas south of LAX, or suddenly grab the UCLA West LA areas and fold them into District 2? And I agree with the South LA communities concerned about the dilution of their neighborhoods. This dilution can be eliminated with modifications by the working group formed the other day to merge B3 and G by not extending D2 to the coast and including Carson in D2 and extending District 4 to include LAX. So I support B3, better aligns other cities of South Bay and Long Beach with gateway communities. South Bay has little in common with San Fernando Valley, Malibu, or the areas adjacent to downtown Los Angeles as in F2. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we will try one more time with Sylvia Norman. Sylvia, you will have 1 minute.
Hello, commissioners. My name is Sylvia Norman. I live in South Central Los Angeles, and I'm a member of the Community Coalition in Los Angeles. I'm in opposition to map G1. Now, commissioners have expressed a belief that extending District 2 to the coastal communities is beneficial to the Black community because it creates a greater access to open spaces to the beach and economic assets in the coastal areas, while ignoring the fact that this lessens Black voting power. I am also opposing map B3 because it creates only 2 districts where communities of color will be able to elect a candidate of their choice. However, map F2 is the best base map because it allows for the creation of 3 districts where communities of color can have more representation. I support this map while requesting that it include the addition of LAX Airport thank you so kindly for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. With that, I believe that's everyone who signed up before 8 p.m. or raised their hand or called in before 8 p.m.
So Ty, two things. I did want to provide an opportunity for Mr. Marcus McKinney, if he's still around, because he apparently thought he was trying to put his request in the chat, and he was over by 1 minute. And then also Kimberly Carrillo, I believe you called on her. She's been on this chat on the Q&A, but I think she was away from her computer at the time. If she's still around, maybe we can give her an opportunity.
So both callers I do not see currently logged on.
Okay. Well, we tried.
Ty, can you check on Ana Godoy's message about Kaylee, Nathan, and Shayla? Having been in the queue?
1 second. So Kaylee has spoken. Nathan has spoken as well as Shayla. They've all spoken.
Great, thank you.
Okay. So that's it then. Public comment then is closed for this public hearing. Commission, what say you? Take a break and come back, or save this for tomorrow? You think we can get something productive done tonight?
I think we have an executive director's report right now, but I think you asked me if you want to have a discussion.
Yeah. What do y'all think? I see a couple of heads shaking no. Commissioner Saira Soto.
I wanted to see if there is an opportunity for Ty to walk us through some of the new overlays that are available with regards to socioeconomic health, which I think includes some of the like environmental issues, as well as, let me just quickly look here, that I just hadn't been able to access before, that I think are really important to add to the conversation with regards to why certain communities are stating, that there are issues that they are grappling with that others are not. So I want to see if we could just at the very least have Ty walk us through it, what those overlays mean.
Hold that thought, Commissioner Franklin.
Yes, I just want to be sure that the modified maps that we worked on yesterday, are the public able to view those maps, the modified maps that we worked on yesterday?
The working groups you're talking about.
Yes.
Those have not been posted yet. We will, show them and talk about them working group reports tomorrow at tomorrow's meeting.
Okay.
Is the plan. They're not.
All right, then will probably be best then, because my comments will be geared to a lot of information that I've heard that's not up to date with what we've done with the modifications of the map. So I prefer to hold off and we take those up on tomorrow.
But of course, the working groups are not the commission. Those are, various members of the commission have made suggestions. They still have not been adopted or approved or anything by the commission. Commissioner Mendoza.
Yes, I was just going to, in response to your question a minute or two ago, I think we'd be better served by addressing map issues and comments Wednesday, as opposed to trying to take that on tonight.
Commissioner Holtzman.
If we're going to get a walkthrough by Ty, like Commissioner Saira Soto requests, I'd love to have him talk us through what I see here on the redistricting software for map 81. I think there are one or two other maps like that. A whole bunch of colors have come on, and I don't see a key for the colors, and it's really hard to see through the colors to the base map. So I think that's maybe one of the overlays that the Commissioner Saira Soto was talking about.
That's correct, Commissioner Holtzman. Thank you.
All right, there you go. Love to see what that's all about.
Okay, let me ask, Ty, are you able to do that right now? Are you prepared to do that?
Yes, I just got a glass of water, so I'm good to go.
So shall we, how long do you think it would take to do that?
As long as folks would like, I can do it in less than a minute. If folks have questions, I can stay on.
Should we hang in there until we go through this and then forego our break and just break for the evening at that point? Okay, that seems to be the consensus, Ty, if you don't mind.
Of course. So let me go ahead and share my screen. As all the commissioners, as well as many members of the public who are attending tonight know, this is the redistricting software. So I'm just going to start off with the new supervisorial district maps, the default view, where nothing has been assigned yet. So whenever you want to add a reference layer, what you will need to do on the left-hand side is a small button that will expand the content window, the search and content window. You can click on the contents tab, and you will be able to find these different reference layers, including the parent groups and the child groups. And so it might be a little bit difficult to see on this screen at the moment, but just know that for LA County reference, Los Angeles 2020 and LA County socioeconomic, there is a small button on the left of it, which if you click, you can expand and close. You can expand and close. And so what Commissioner Soto was referring to were the additional layers that we have added from the Cal Enviro Screen 4 data, as well as some requested data from the public from the AFFH. And so there are all these different layers that folks can click on and off. So for example, from the Cal Enviro Screen 4.0, if you click on pollution burden. So if you click on a child reference, you will have to click on the parent reference code as well. It will show up in these different areas. The areas where there are, typically the way that it's coded is the darker that it is code, the more it is for whatever that reference layer is. So in this case, pollution burden. So the darker the layer, geography is, then the higher percentage of the pollution burden there is in that particular geographical unit. And so for folks that are interested in looking at it, feel free to go through, make sure that you click the parent code if you want any of the child codes to be activated. But again, just be wary. The more you click, the more bandwidth it will take. It will slow down your computer, it will slow down your browser, and it will potentially shut your computer down. I see Commissioner Holtzman and Commissioner Stetcher, you both have hands up.
Sure. What you just said raises one question, and then I wanted to have an explanation of what we see with map 81. The one question I have is, where can we find a table that defines the different colors for each of these indicators, like the breakpoints and the units and the measurements?
So all of those, so working with Norman Wong from ISD, who did a lot of work on this as well, he basically went back to wherever the data is from. So for example, Cal Enviro Screen 4.0, and just copied the color coding system from there, the breaks there as well. And so with this software, we're not able to really put the legend for each of the reference layer. That's a limitation. And so if you would like, I would suggest going to the Cal Enviro Screen website, which I know you're familiar with, and just checking that out as well.
Okay, so they've got the color coding there. That answers that question.
Right. And so OP081, you see here.
Yeah. This is exactly what I have on my screen. If I've moved the district window away and zoomed in a bit, perhaps you can do that. Go to view, take the district window away under the view menu.
So you don't want the district window?
No, I don't.
So I think the question that you had earlier was there was all these.
All that stuff. What am I looking at? What is all the red in District 2? What is the?
It's
what do the colors mean in District 4, District 3, District 5? It's kind of
it's a lot, yes. And this is something that where you would just go in and just turn off the layer. I would suggest in some cases, for whatever reason, sometimes they're automatically selected. And that could be just, again, we are just adding in the reference layers as requested. And so what you might need to do is just turn them off and then just click them one by one.
So we kind of have to investigate this ourselves. Did the user choose to have these show up automatically, or why are they showing up automatically?
So in some cases, they show up automatically because the user had it clicked on. But I can check in with the folks who do the back end stuff with the software to see if we can have it automatically turned off.
I don't know, whatever. Thank you, Ty.
Okay, so I believe Commissioner Stetcher's hand is back down. So Commissioner Sider-Social.
I would actually find it helpful if you could select one, and it could be the ozone layer, or pollution, or even the poverty layer. And if you can allow us to see sort of the district lines.
Of course. So just let me go ahead and go back to the default option. Okay, so I'm going to click the parent layer. Is there a particular reference layer that you are interested in? It looks like something's already selected. And it shouldn't be. Is there a particular layer that you're interested in?
Gosh, there's so many that I think are so relevant to what's been spoken about tonight. Let's go ahead and look at, I think I saw something here about lead pollution.
Lead pollution. And again, this is something that we just put into the software. So if there are any particular errors, please let us know. We'll try to fix this as quickly as we can. So lead pollution, children's lead risk, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that's.
Is there a particular area in the county?
If you can show the district lines, that would be helpful.
The current district lines?
Yeah, because I think we have, this is not one of the maps we've been discussing, right?
So this is starting from default, so there has been none assigned, but I can add on the superimpose of the current supervisory districts.
That's helpful.
And Pretty noted that if you click on legend, it will tell you some of what Commissioner Holtzman was on the legend tab at the bottom.
Oh, great.
It will show you but it doesn't say what the scale is, but it shows you what the colors are.
It's percentile what it's showing.
Right, but it doesn't tell you the definition of lead risk.
Right.
Thank you. This is helpful, Ty, because I think if I heard you correctly, the darker the color, the higher the percentage or the risk of lead poisoning is to children. So if we see from these, we're looking at District 2 portions of this. Wow.
Yeah, so I was just gonna, I hit the layer that's unassigned, so it's a little bit more clear.
Thank you so much. And I think these are so important to look at, and I'm not sure how many commissioners, how many of us will have time to spend, looking at this, but I think it is critical for us to have a discussion that takes a lot of these into consideration.
So fortunately, we're going to be closing early tonight, so you may have an opportunity to play around with some of this stuff because I agree that there are some important data, and we've heard a lot today about folks' concerns about some of those issues or layers or data. Any other questions or things you want from Ty regarding these layers? Okay, there was, I think, a very brief executive director's report outlining the remaining meetings.
Of course, it's going to the end with showing the recess. Hold on just a second. basically tomorrow evening is set aside as a time for the commissioners to digest the public input received, not only tonight, but also prior written comments about the various maps. We'd like you to spend most of the time looking at that. The working groups will be sharing some of the modifications they've made based on the input from public hearing number 3. As you know, this has been a very rapid process. The goal is to try to get down to one map as a working final draft map to then do additional analysis of. I also want to point out the start time is going to be 7:30 tomorrow evening. You'll see then there's a little gray box with dotted lines. The concern is if you do not pick a final map by tomorrow night, we may need to come together on Saturday morning to get to that point. Right now, we do have Sunday, December 12th scheduled as a special meeting. The thought was you would have gone to one map. We would do more staff work and analysis and bring that to you. As you know, the final decision has to be made by December 15th. And we were going to suggest that maybe we start earlier, as early as 5 p.m. So I see Commissioner Holtzman's hand is up. I thought we might do a quick hand raise also if we could see if we could start as early as 5 o'clock. The concern is the maps, the final map, the shape files need to be in by 11:59, right before midnight. And I'm waiting to get instructions from Dean Logan at the Registrar Recorder about specifically about what they need at that time. Commissioner Holtzman.
Yeah, I remember we were talking about just agendizing a special meeting, starting with the next few days, and agendizing it to have continuation every day going forward in case we need it. So we, would have that option instead of this looks like too few times to have agendized for us to be working on all this. I mean, I'm fine with starting at 5, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about why not do that? We were going to do that. I think Holly Watley said it was okay to have a special meeting agendized and block out times where the meeting might be continued to.
The main reason is we can't do anything unless we have 9 people. That's the main reason.
So let's get together, folks. Let's get together.
So based on what we understand, the Saturday morning is one that possibly can achieve 9, but other dates not so much. And I think it's useful, just like in legislation, to have a deadline. And I strongly urge you all to be of the mindset to adopt final, working final drafts, plans, whatever, tomorrow, if at all possible.
Commissioner Franklin?
Yes, we have been working, and Commissioner Holtzman, you said, let's get together and let's do this. We have been doing this every day. My question to Gayla, the final maps, everything has to be ready, emailed by Tuesday at 11:59. Am I correct? That's Tuesday, 11:59?
I believe it's Wednesday. Wednesday, I believe December 15th.
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday at 11:59. Okay. So then co-chair is proposing that tomorrow when we meet, we come up with the final map. Am I correct?
Well, that would be great if we could.
Yes.
That would be, yeah, if we can, that's what we would, that's the direction we want to go in.
Okay, so if we can't, then more than likely we will meet again on Saturday at 10 a.m.
If we can get a quorum together for that.
We
Yeah.
can get so in other words, we have to get a quorum to, or meet, if not Saturday, we'd have to meet again that Sunday we're meeting on the 12th.
We are.
We're meeting on the 12th. And then if not, we'll have to meet on Tuesday.
Well, it really,
13th.
Sunday we need to decide on a final map on Sunday.
Okay.
There's a lot of work between Sunday and when we have to actually stamp approval of the final on the 15th. So
Right.
we don't think there's going to be another meeting between Sunday and Wednesday to mess around with maps.
All right, then the line will have to be drawn on Sunday, December the 12th. That's the line in the sand.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And also, let me just mention, there's another ad hoc working group that's reviewing the draft report that we have pulled together. And right now it's a 3-part draft. So that part A includes sort of a quick executive overview. Chapter 2 needs to be written. It contains the basically description, justification of the selected map. And we'll be working closely with Holly and Bruce's review of that. And then chapter 3 is lessons learned. Part B.
This is what I have a problem with. If pardon my interruption here. Mr. Franklin mentioned, oh, we've been working on this every day, but it's not the commission that's been working on this every day. It's all these behind the scenes work groups that have been working on this every day. All the commissioners in the San Diego County Commission already have draft of the report they're going to issue with their map. All the commissioners and the public have drafts of the resolution that's going to be put out with the map. There's stuff that the working groups have done that we now know today, because of someone's question, haven't been posted yet on the website and are not available to all commissioners. The polishing of this report should be done in public, not behind the scenes. And I think it's time to make it available at least to all the commissioners ASAP. So stuff is not sprung on us at the last minute or on the public. We should be notifying the public of what the work groups have done. Perhaps minutes of those meetings should be published. And certainly this final report being worked on behind the scenes, it's time to surface it. I don't think it would be appropriate for it to show up as some sort of product of KH Consulting, for instance. I think the executive summary should certainly be signed by our chairs, if anybody. In fact, the report signed by our chairs. I don't think KH Consulting logo or anything really belongs on the report. I'm going to be looking for that.
Commissioner Holtzman, that is not correct at all. I just want to just put that out there. What you're saying is not correct at all in any way. Thank you.
Well, anyway, it's time for us to see what you're doing back there, and time to let the commissioners raise objections, and or not. There's all this stuff going on behind the scenes is the problem.
It's on the agenda for Wednesday evening to walk you through the resolution, the report, and all of that, because it is clearly recognized you need to look at it.
You mean tomorrow?
Yes.
Well, it's invalid for a public meeting if you haven't posted it yet on the website. You've got to give the public notice. It's inadequate notice to spring something like that on us and the public without publishing the supporting documents for the agenda now. Come on, make things public. You're doing so much behind the scenes.
I mean, I'm fine in making it public. It has a lot of holes in it because you haven't picked your final map. You have to realize in that one chapter. But
and I have to say, there has been a lot of work going on with working groups. We cannot do all of this as one commission. And I think, and again, we had a scrunch timeline. So a lot of what you're asking for would not have been available unless we were working every day. And we have been working almost every other day. The working groups, we've got the mapping groups. We've got a working group on the report to look at the final report. There's a lot of stuff going on. We can't, and when you're saying it's not in public, yeah, what we're doing is not a violation of the Brown Act. with moving these things forward, and we will make them public. The public will have a chance to look at it and comment, but I think we have an opportunity to make sure it's ready for the public to comment. Not to
hiding this stuff from the commissioners, for one thing, is a violation of good government principles. I asked to be on that work
We're
group,
drafting
and I never
it.
heard back.
Commissioner
I never heard back.
Holtzman, we're
Who is on the work
drafting.
group? You haven't even announced who's on the work group. I know you're drafting things like this, but look, if we had the kind of staff San Diego has, we'd have it by now. They have.
We don't have.
Why don't we? Why
we
don't we?
Well, we don't. That's where we are right now. We don't. That's where we've been.
I just have to say, the idea that we're having work groups and not being transparent about what these work groups are doing is simply incorrect.
Well, tell me who's on the work group.
Steps.
Just tell me who you appointed to the work group instead of me. I asked to be on the work group.
Yeah, and there were more people that were asked to be on the work group than there are people available to be on a work group according to our bylaws.
Okay, announce who's on it at least. Be transparent about that.
We can be transparent about that. Carolyn, can you help me remember who's on the work group?
It's Commissioner Wong, Commissioner Kinney, Commissioner Silas Soto, and
Commissioner
you,
Morales.
myself, and Commissioner Morales.
Commissioner Franklin,
So one of the
I'm
things.
on it. I'm on the work group as well.
Well, yeah, he's talking about the work group for the
report.
for the report.
Okay.
So
yeah,
we had to balance political party, gender, people on various other work groups to look at various parts of these reports.
So we have someone from each of the
folks.
prior working groups.
But going back to the maps, every change we make in a map, if we go from F1 to F2 or whatever, we document that, and that's provided to the public so they know what we're doing. So it's just simply incorrect to say we're springing stuff, no one knows what's going on, it's behind closed doors and all that. That's offensive. That's just incorrect, as Commissioner Franklin said. And I just need to correct the record on that.
I don't know. I still don't see what the work groups did already, and somebody says it's not on the website. So,
Commissioner Stetcher.
Simple question. Am I right that we have to actually adopt a map tomorrow so that we can post it for a week before the 15th? We may be able to change it slightly during that time period, but we have to, by the end of tomorrow night's meeting, we have to pick a map and put it forward?
So that's a really good question. So Holly, we don't actually have to adopt a final map tomorrow night, right? For a 7-day period or something like that, do we?
No, we don't. No.
Okay.
Cool.
Not legally. No.
However,
practically,
Sunday, we will have to adopt essentially a final map to get it ready, to have the justifications written into the report and all that kind of stuff. And then so that we can all see it at the end on Wednesday and say, this is it, we're passing the resolution. So Sunday, we need to do that. How do we get there on Sunday?
Right.
I would suggest to you, it's pretty important that we make a heck of a lot of progress, if not actually adopting a map by the end of the day, by the end of the meeting tomorrow, because other things have to happen, right? So we have our voting polarization analysis experts come in and also discuss these things. And they'll be participating as well tomorrow night. But there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle, and we need to get those things going. You can't simply say, we're done, we've adopted something, and then that goes through and we pass it. It doesn't work that way. There's a lot of things that have to happen.
Commissioner Wong?
Yes, thank you. While I completely understand that that it would be ideal to pick a map tomorrow, I think we are kind of far away. Unfortunately, in my mind, we are far away from that because we actually have 3 maps and actually modifications of those maps. So I think if we could even just get to 2 maps, we'd be in good shape. And then I guess I was anticipating that on Sunday, then we would choose that final map. So I guess was I wrong in assuming that?
Well, let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes is all I can tell you. Any other commissioners other than Commissioner Holtzman who hasn't said anything
Who
yet?
have
Who
not
wants to,
spoken, yeah.
who want to comment? Commissioner Holtzman.
All right. How about distributing to all the commissioners each draft of the resolutions and the report as they're prepared, even if those commissioners aren't on the working group that's going to be suggesting changes? Not for comment to the working group, just so that the commissioners can see what's coming. I think that would be very helpful.
And let me mention that the draft resolutions are posted on the agenda for tomorrow on the site. And we could certainly make that available. It's a working draft. It's really up to the co-chairs and the commission. We just felt we'd like to give you a tighter draft to look at, but I have no problem with that.
So the draft resolutions that Holly has drafted, I posted it on the website earlier today. So they've been available on the website.
I mean, I'll look at those. I just keep us apprised of what you're doing while you're doing it. What, you know.
I agree, since ultimately we all have to vote on the resolutions, the report, as well as the maps, that it would be useful to get us versions early enough that we can review.
I don't disagree that it's good to do a lot of different things. People are working really hard. I have to tell you, we are working really, really hard, and the staff is working really long hours. No one is slacking off. No one is hiding things from you or anything along those lines. We will try to do better. We will try to provide stuff more in advance, but we're on an incredibly tight timeline, as you all know. And I think, you need to, give a little grace to that. We have what we have.
I understand, Chair Mayed. I appreciate the work everybody's been putting into this. We've got to fill in where help otherwise isn't available, and we're I know everybody's been working pretty hard to come up with stuff that they think would be useful, et cetera, et cetera. And I just want to say that that is great, but there's one area that I think commissioners really need to think about working harder on, and that's making themselves available for more time for whole commission meetings. It's crazy that we can't even get a quorum except for a few hours between now and the deadline. Just wanted to point that out. Just wanted to say that. Thank you.
We got ourselves in this problem months ago because we didn't get to the meat of our efforts. We, looking back, put in too much time doing other kinds of things and not getting to the mapping piece. But that's water over the dam.
I would still like to think that the folks who are working on the draft, our plan is to have our final comments in on Friday. And to have that you can see the draft report. We're not hiding it. We're just trying to move it down the line a little bit before we give you pieces that we're still working on. So, so having a few people put the comments together rather than having the whole, we don't want a report done by, 14. We've got a select group that's going to work on it, and then you'll see it before it's finalized for sure. I'm not sure if people really want to have time for that in addition to working on maps. So that's the other question. I don't know how many people want to read that report right now. So
Commissioner Cyrus,
yeah.
Might it make sense to send out another poll to see if our schedules have changed? And there may be opportunity for a special meeting prior to Saturday or instead of Saturday, just to give more time between the possible Saturday and Sunday meeting.
It would have to be Friday. It would. I mean, we're looking at maybe Friday then, if we want to add some time.
Just in case schedules have changed, it may help.
So we can do that.
Let's put out a poll for Friday and Saturday.
See what we have.
Might as well.
Mr. Morales?
Just want to note that's my mother's birthday, but send out what we can and see where we fit. Not all of us are going to be able to do that. And I think we just have to be realistic about that. Some of us are not retired. Some of us are still working.
That's the thing.
With families.
Time families. So like we have to recognize that some of us are a hell of a lot busier. You know,
I will just
give us a little
mention
break.
on the last doodle, Sunday was the safest date. Saturday morning at 10, we had 9. We didn't have more than 9. The other dates, it was very short in terms of the other times. I'm happy to do another doodle.
We'll try again.
We can turn it around as fast as we can.
Yeah. Yeah, gotta respond
That's
to it.
important. Yeah.
Commissioner Bento?
Yeah, Commissioner Morales, we're happy to sing happy birthday to your mother.
Will that help?
And I'll just invite her to the meeting. Yeah, that'll be great. I'm sure she'll enjoy that.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, that was it, right, Gayla, for the staff report, the executive director's report?
That was it.
I just want to say one thing, which is that Commissioner Stetcher said that we had perhaps not used our time as wisely as possible, but the real problem was the late release of the census data.
Oh, there's no doubt about
Just
that.
for the record.
Thank you.
There's no doubt about that. Okay, it is 10:22 and we are adjourned. See you tomorrow, 7:30, not 7, 7:30 tomorrow.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Alrighty, thank you all. Good night.
Thank you. Night.